the 3 Points of Articulation podcast. Welcome to the 3 Points of Articulation podcast. And this time we're going to let it all hang out. This time we're going to stand up and shout. We're going to do things our way. It's our way. It's our way or the highway. It's Wrestlemania 17 we're covering this week. And the 2001, we're going to take ourselves back all the way there. But this week I'm joined by Johnny Flashback. How are you doing, Jonathan?
Hey, yo, doing all good. I've definitely got that song stuck in my head, though.
Top banger. Can't blame you. Adam, the wrestling man.
I am doing excellent with a full set of gnashes. I can speak properly this week.
He's had his teeth done,
Mm-hmm.
which is good stuff. Yes, we're covering WrestleMania 17 this week. So everything from the opening bell all the way until, we won't spoil the ending for you. It's been 20 years, but I'm sure some of you haven't tuned in yet. Before we get into our news segment, we're going to look at our giveaway. And here is the giveaway prize, first of all, for you guys.
Ooh.
It's not WrestleMania 17, but it's WrestleMania 3 based. Ricky Steamboat in there.
Explain this, Jimmy, for the audio listeners who can't see it.
It is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat fan takeover. In his box with the Intercontinental title, it's gi and it's black belt, and a lovely little headband and a little bit of stubble for our Richard on there. Lovely. So to enter the giveaway for Ricky Steamboat, all you've got to do is subscribe to our YouTube or leave a review on any podcast format that we're on. So either Apple Podcast, Podbean, Google Podcast, Spotify, any of those. Leave us a review. Send us a screenshot over. Get it in front of us. All you got to do is just let us see it. We'll confirm once we've seen it, saying, okay, you're in the draw. Jobs are good, and we're all good, and you're in the draw. We'll let us run.
How do we get it to us, Jamie?
By DM. You can get it to us by Twitter, @3Articulation, Facebook, 3 Points of Articulation podcast, Instagram, 3 Points of Articulation podcast on there as well. Or if you know us personally, just drop us a DM. As long as you get it in front of us, we'll add it to the draw. We'll confirm that it's in there. But either way, just subscribe to any format, YouTube, podcast, anything, and leave us a review. That's all you got to do.
And you can enter multiple times. So you can leave a review on iTunes as well as subscribe on YouTube. So you get 2 entries to doing that. And as Jamie says, you can leave it on Podbean, anything. So multiple entries are allowed.
Yeah, as many times as you want. It's a free giveaway. So as long as you guys are doing your bit on your end, then we're happy to send you out a prize. I've just noticed as well, it's the first time I've actually looked at the fan takeover ones. It's got the results on the back, which is interesting to see. WrestleMania 3 didn't actually win by that much. It's 50% it won. Then you got Starrcade on 44, and then no one wanted WrestleMania 25.
No.
Lovely. Well, that's in the past. Let's look at some news for the future. We're back in a second. News World Order time now is represented on my t-shirt and Johnny's tank top as well, if you're a visual listener. Let's go to Adam first of all. Kick us off with some news. What have you got for us?
Just a quick update from For the Love of Wrestling, which is a convention that happens in the UK, more specifically Liverpool. They have come up with the 3rd date now that they're going to have their convention, which will be April the 23rd and 24th of 2022, with hopefully a wrestling show on the Friday night before on the 22nd as well. I'm really crossing my fingers that this happens for the Love of Wrestling. They're hoping to get exactly the same lineup of wrestlers that they had initially for the signings, for the photos, etc., etc. I will be going, and yeah, so hopefully that goes on and is a good show.
I'm quite surprised to set the date in 2022 because previously they've been quite anxious to get it over and, like sooner rather than later with it. Even during the pandemic, they advised they were trying to go for like Halloween last year, and obviously that never materialized.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they've learned the lesson with that and planned way ahead, which makes more sense.
Yeah, and I spoke to the missus last night and said that I can go, which is good. I think originally I think she meant she wanted to go with me, and I sort of dropped a little. I said, "Oh, wrestling's in Liverpool next year." I was like, "Do you ever go?" She's like, "Yeah, yeah. It's only about 5 hours in the car. He'll be all right." And I was like, "Yeah, I was gonna go by myself actually with some mates, and that's all right." And she was like, "Yeah, yeah, that's fine." So fingers crossed. Be a few nights on the sofa because of that. Thanks, Adam. But yeah, it looks quite good. I mean, look, I was watching vlogs and stuff from the last one. It looks like it's a good little weekend. So look forward to that. Lovely, Johnny. Let's go across to you.
Little bit of news on the AEW we were talking about last time with the corrective skin tones of Series 1. And off the record, and Matt Cardona himself said it was off the record, but he still spilled the beans. Jeremy Padawa said that they're not going to redo the chase figures from Series 1. So it's going to remain as 500 and 1,000 as previously advertised.
Quite silly, in my opinion, that one. They could have had another little cash cow there from people buying a couple just in case they get it. They could have quite easily made them different by changing their skin tone, which still retains the 1 of 500 stature of the first ones. So quite silly, that.
Yeah, I agree. Because I mean, it would have given us another chance to get them, or even in that case, it would have given us a better chance to get the previous skin tones. But then again, I do see it from a collector's standpoint that some might have paid, a lot of money for the originals and expect they're only going to be 500. And then if they bring out more, it's a bit of a false advertisement in a way.
They could have quite easily done 2 different chases, though.
I don't know how quite easily that could have happened, though.
An extra T-shirt.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's strange. I think if I was a collector and I'd paid, I think somewhere close to 1,000, weren't they, on the Jericho, and they released just a basic and updated skin tone, I think I'd be a bit miffed. But I can see a reason for both. But yeah, I think they're taking the easier route for it.
Yes, I think it's trying to not tee up for the collectors, I guess. But there it is. I believe that goes the same for the Kenny Omega that came with the ring and the Bubbly Jericho.
Oh, okay.
But and apparently the UK Cody, although I think the skin tone was actually correct on that, I'm not too sure.
I don't know. Any excuse to get another Cody made, I think they'd take it, wouldn't they? And
just to quickly mention, we have seen some grey renders of the AEW Series 7, I believe, or 6, can't remember.
6.
But we declined to comment on these at the moment because I don't know why they're releasing these pictures without any colour or, the final product. It's hard to comment on them now.
Yeah, I mean, there's some Grender's release, isn't there? And the only thing to come out of it is that Jake Hager's in his wrestling gear. That's probably the only thing. That's only if or but I had, but that's probably about it, really.
Yeah, we can move on.
Lovely. Well, I saw on Twitter and a bit on Facebook over the last week or so, Brian Tippin Jr., I think, or iCandy Tattoo on Twitter anyway, has released Wrestlemania Six Buddies. He sort of made a few for his buddies, he was saying, and he had a few extra spare, so he's selling a few of those off. They look fantastic. Have you guys seen them? Johnny, what's your view on the buddies?
Adam on this one.
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, I've seen them. They look quality, to be honest. They look smaller than the normal buddies, I would say. I don't know for definite, but that's the way they look to me. I think it's becoming quite a trend because I keep seeing loads of adverts on Facebook and stuff where you can make yourself into buddies and you can make your pets into buddies. So I think maybe capitalising on that, but they look quality. So yeah, good.
Yeah, I agree. Like I have seen those things you talk about where you make yourself, but they look horrendous. But these are really well done. They even look probably better than original buddies, to be honest. So he's done well in what he's made there.
Yeah, I see some of his designs on Twitter and so on. It keeps the cartoonish thing on there, which is good. I think I'd say they're about that big compared to, I think it's about 14 inches, I'd say, give or take. So the missus tells me anyway. But yeah, I think they got probably around that sort of size. So yeah, I quite like the sort of custom side of things now. There's a lot of people coming out and doing the sort of custom side of things. You see a lot of custom Hasbros on Facebook, and we discussed it before, Adam. So yeah, I quite like it. I like the way the community's going.
Definitely. Good stuff.
Adam, I think we're back to you now.
Yeah, my second bit of non-figure news of the day is the Peacock side of things in USA, where they've kind of taken over the network and are reviewing things and have started to censor things on the network, trawling through hours and hours and hours of network footage and starting to censor it. I believe, I might be wrong on this, but I believe it has started to transfer over to the network that we have in the UK. Piper against Bad News Brown from Wrestlemania 6 is no longer there. So I think it could end up being a worldwide kind of partnership. Let's censor this. If we're going to censor it on Peacock, we need to censor it on the rest if we're going to be partners.
That's really disappointing to hear. And I know it doesn't age well or anything like that, but it wasn't actually meant to be racist at the time. It was just meant to be, you know, in fact, it was meant to be inclusive. I think by Piper was trying to say it doesn't matter if you're black or white or whatever with the old Michael Jackson slogan or whatever. Although Piper was just so like outdated himself that it didn't really come across well. I really don't like this at all. It would be something that I would cancel the subscription over in protest.
Yeah, I think I'd like it if they gave an option, maybe if there's like children watching it and so on, they had like a censored option, or like a parental option that you can have. But it's not much point, is there? We all know what happened. We all know certain things that went on. I understand censoring Mae Young at the Rumble 2000, which some poor bloke at Peacock's got to sit his way through. But yeah, there's certain things you haven't got to do. Some things are part of history. So
there is already a parental control on the network, I believe. So
oh well, there you go.
It already exists, but it's not going to cover things like that. I don't believe. What do you know? What else might be censoring? Adam, did you read about it?
No, I've literally just noticed about Piper and Bad News Brown this morning. One of my mates highlighted the fact to me because he knew I was doing this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not good news. And to be honest, I don't really understand what Peacock is. I don't know if we've got a UK equivalent that you could suggest that would similar.
No, it would be like Stars Play, I guess. I think they refer to it as, but I think once again that's American. It's sort of like an online streaming service, I believe. If they did do it over here, more likely to be with BT. I think would be the only thing I can think of, which would be an utter nightmare.
Yeah, I think if anything like that occurred, I just wouldn't bother subscribing. I would only do it for WWE themselves.
But with that, the price of DVDs are going to go up. I would have thought, especially on some of the controversial stuff.
Depends when DVD players go out of business. Got to be something to take over soon.
VHS back, man.
Yeah, I believe that they are. As soon as I get my little toy room, my little Jamie room, I'm going to get a wall of VHSs. I miss them. It's a bit nostalgia, a nice VHS.
Yeah, I quite like the fact that a bit of an off statement, but on Red Dwarf, like obviously it's set in the future, but it was originally made in the late 80s. And their excuse was they tried everything, but then eventually went back to what was best, and that was the VHS. So 100 years in the future, they're going to be using the VHS again.
Lovely. You can watch, is it the Smeg Ups they used to call that?
Aye, good show, man. One of my favourite.
Lovely. Well, back to wrestling, Johnny.
Top picks, Mattel top picks for 20. I don't know if it's later in this year or the next year with John Cena, which is actually a flashback, which is the first time they've done that in the line. Roman Reigns, which is very similar to the 85. Rey Mysterio, and a very basic and bland Drew McIntyre. There you have.
I think they're a danger of them. Oh, go ahead, Adam. Sorry.
I saw these this morning, and all I could think of the whole range was bland, 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 bland. Not for me at all.
I'm actually going to get the Cena, I think. I quite like that. It's something different. It's a flashback as well, so
I think they're a danger of overproducing Drew McIntyre figures. Let me talk about Cody and the jokes on Cody, but obviously Drew's had 6, 7 figures in the last year or so.
Yeah,
including the slamming one, but yeah.
But, yeah. It will eventually go that way. To be honest, like last year, trying to get Drew McIntyre was like finding gold dust, not the wrestler, but the actual metal. But now you know it's very common. And the same happens to every single guy. The new guy comes along, the figure is first very sought after, worth a lot, and eventually you can't get rid of the basics for £2.
Ricochet is a prime example on that. I think I picked up his latest elite for a tenner posted from WrestleBox, I think, which is crazy, isn't it, for a Ricochet figure?
Yeah, that went very quickly. Like down.
But yeah, I think it's crazy that Drew McIntyre, the Fiend, has had loads released. He's just released a new character as well, so no doubt we're going to get an elite of that. So whether that's a good way to do it and just release loads at once, strike the iron whilst it's hot, or maybe just spread out over time. We'll have to see.
Yes, time will tell.
Time will tell. Right, so yeah, basic 120, sticking with Mattel. We've got Edge in his lovely little khaki t-shirt / painting. I don't know, you can see his body through it anyway. Karrion Kross, who is there. Scarlett is the Chase, Bald HBK, and Pete Dunne I've got here. Have you guys seen the images of these?
Go on, Adam.
Yeah, I've seen them. Scarlett in the Chase is very bland and boring, but I guess that's how she is in NXT with what she wears at the moment. So that's the only way they could go. Karrion Kross, like you say, is pretty bad. So for a set of basics, they're the ones that you should be looking forward to and expecting. They are what it says on the tin. They're very basic.
Yeah, just kids' toys now. You could say before they were quite collector's editions, stand up against elites, but these what they're releasing now are just so bland and so limited in articulation that it's no good unless you're a kid and then you're just gonna fling them around. That's all they are. Shawn Michaels was a funny choice to release, but you know the head, the face is okay and it does like kind of look like him from that match, but I just don't know why they've done it. I don't want to see a bald Shawn Michaels.
It looks more like Adam Pearce if you look at Adam Pearce custom from it. But
also, and the edge of the Rangers, which that painted on t-shirt, which kind of almost looks like a skin tone if you're not very close up or colorblind.
How Braun Strowman wears his t-shirt, it looks like that almost. It's very sure. The Scarlett doesn't look good in my. It doesn't look anything like her. I don't think the Karrion Kross is okay. HBK is just a bit strange, and Pete Dunne. It's Pete Dunne basic. Why not? That's true. I started more Pete Dunne figures.
Pete Dunne doesn't look too bad, actually.
The best one out of the lot.
Yeah, which dwarfs among midgets, I think they say, don't they? Let's say that. Right, Adam, next up, what have you got for us?
Yeah, mine's the latest statue from Premium Collectors Studio, available on Sideshow.com. We spoke about the Undertaker one a few episodes back, which was $550. They've gone slightly more on this one, so I'm guessing the Undertaker sold quite well. It's $600, and it's Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's 27.5 inches tall, so quarter scale again, same as Undertaker. But I don't know whether you two have seen it or not, but it is absolutely amazing. You've got to see it if you haven't seen it. It looks absolutely perfect. It is spot on, even down to like the creases, like he's almost moving because he's on the ropes doing that. And it comes with a rope type base where he's stood on the top rope as well. Honestly, it's really good. I'm not buying it for $600, but it's really good.
Well, you've sold us on it, but you haven't shown us. I can't really comment on, unfortunately, but it does sound really good if you're going to put it like that. I'm sure we're going to have a picture of it in the video on YouTube. So,
there's famous last words, Johnny.
Yes. Well,
I'm trying to see if I can find one now whilst we're here. But yeah, I think I've seen a few pictures. I know someone from one of the groups has ordered the Undertaker. It does look good. I think the images that I put on the YouTube one, I think cut his head off, didn't it? Bless him. But yeah, I think it does look good. So I think if you have the effort, if you've got the money, then it's certainly worth it, I'd say.
You also have to have the space to display them. They're that big.
Yeah, it's huge.
Is it? Is that it? Is that the one? Sorry, everyone on YouTube is watching.
Yeah, that's the one. It's hard to see because your phone's
It's hard
shining.
to see.
It does look good.
It does look good. The face looks terrifying, but it does look good, all in all. Backwise looks good. I'll put images on there for everyone watching on YouTube. Everyone that's not, just have a little Google of it. I just typed in Steve Austin statue and it was fine. But yeah, I think all in all, the statue-wise, I quite liked my first one I saw. I think, Adam, was your Shawn Michaels one.
Right there.
That you had there, which looks really good. And I think I've seen a Bret Hart one at the same style since. So yeah, I think it's got a market, isn't it?
Apparently so.
Jono, what else you got for us?
We have seen the reveals of the Ultimate Edition with Stone Cold and Ric Flair. So I really like the Flair. I really dislike Stone Cold. Discuss.
It was released on 316 day because it was sort of the most overused joke for the whole day, wasn't it? Everyone being like, "Oh, happy 316 day." And we get it. It's been going around for a few years now. Let's not make it into a longer thing, shall we? But yeah, I think it looked good. The Flair looks good. I know you like the Four Horsemen hands. We had a discussion about it, didn't we? Austin wise, one of the heads looks really good. The other two look a bit meh. T-shirt wise, brilliant. But apart from that, I shall be ignoring these two, I think.
Well, I've put a pre-order in for both. I haven't bought any Ultimate Editions for ages, and I really dislike the bodies. But I bought them, to be honest with you, more as an investment, because if they go the way that The Rock has, then I'm with them.
Yeah, I know you want to talk about the torso, which is the thing that's really put me off the Stone Cold. It doesn't look right at all. And in previous ones, I've kind of disagreed with you and think that they look all right. They look decent enough until this one. Like the Flair's pretty good, and I can see how it's meant to look like Flair with the torso floating as the way it does. But the Stone Cold is hideous.
Yeah, it's not great.
There's one of the heads looks good. I think it's the middle one of the three that they showed. Looks okay. I think it's the laughing Stone Cold face, but I'm not going to display it with that head. So I'm not going to get it based off that reason. But I've got enough Stone Colds. I've got one, and he doesn't really change much, does he? So
Nope.
Lovely.
Too many already.
I'm all out of news based off that. Anything you guys have got?
Nothing more from me.
Little last thing is that the Jim Cornette figures that I talked about previously have landed, and they finally found the ship that had them. So they are available on Figures Toy Company's actual website for $29.99, or you can get them from jimcornette.com, and you can get them signed and inscribed and personalized. So they're available as of now, but I don't know if they're going to sell out quickly or not.
I would have thought so. Jim Cornette stuff seems to have gone up for some reason. I remember looking at the BCA must have been a couple of years ago, and it was a relatively decent price. And I think I picked one up this week, but they don't sell for anything less than 30 quid now. The BCA figures alone, which is strange.
Cult of Cornette, Jamie. The Cult of Cornette. Got a big following, and I'm certainly one of them. Two podcasts.
Well, we watched him on Dark Side of the Ring this week with the wife, and she's not a fan of his. I was trying to explain what he does for wrestling and what his job was, but yeah, nothing. She's not a fan. She's just causing the shouty glasses won't go.
He'll always have his negatives. People go way too far with Jim Cornette. If you don't agree with some of his opinions, fair play. I don't agree with some of your opinions, but it doesn't mean that I'm gonna go off on one in a big rant about I don't like you as a person. Seen a lot of two-faced behavior on the wrestling groups, particularly about Jim Cornette recently, where they lay into him whilst having to go at him for laying into others, and it's just silly.
Yes, and most from people that don't listen to the podcast or haven't actually listened to the context of what he was saying as well, because he certainly never called Penelope Ford what he was accused of.
He did not.
There was a descriptive word and not a noun. So, and it was based on the character rather than the person or the look.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I've kept my nose clear about it. I haven't actually listened to it, but a fan of Jim Cornette in the early 90s when he was with Yoko. So I stick to my guns on that one. I quite like Jim. Lovely. So yeah, we've got Pick Me Up next. I think as well. Actually got to add in the Wrestling Man special by all accounts, haven't we?
I have a lot.
I have a lot. Lovely. We'll be back in a second with our lovely Pick Me Ups.
Ooh, some lovely Pick Me Ups.
Pick Me Ups time now. We're having a look at our recent purchases since the last episode of the podcast. Adam, the Wrestling Man, let's go to you first.
Yeah, my tag team display is in full swing, so I've made quite a lot of pickups based on that this week. So some lovely cheapy loosies for me this week. First of all, some of the only basics that I can put up with. I've got the Riot Squad basics to get in there as a tag team. I think with the women wrestlers, they're very similar, whether they're basics or elites, so I can get away with that one.
Liv's really good on the basics.
There, just a second, because you say about that, I do agree with you. In the previous incarnations of women basic figures, they are as good as any elites, but since they've changed the articulation, they have gone downhill quite a lot. So, but I believe those are the older type, right?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, great figures, them. And as you said before, like that Sarah Logan, who was the underrated R superstar.
Was indeed. I managed to get these three in a bundle for, I think it was about £14 with three others on eBay.
Great. Excellent deal.
The other two, I've got the belts with these as well, but I got Heavy Machinery. These had quite a journey to get here. Bought them from Paul Horahan over in Republic of Ireland. And although he addressed them correctly, the post office lady then decided to stick a label over mine and another person's, which was the opposite way around. So they then went to each other's house and then back to the original ones. So Heavy Machinery, Otis and Tucker. I wasn't a massive fan of Heavy Machinery myself. I just really like these figures.
I quite liked Heavy Machinery. I seen the few times I did watch SmackDown or something, I quite enjoyed the match. I even thought Tucker was quite a good wrestler. Seemed to get the crowd behind him pre-pandemic. So yeah, it was a bit of a shame that it didn't really go that well for them, and that Tucker's just disappeared.
Yeah, it was a strange one, because when they had that Saudi show, they put Tucker into the 50-man Rumble. And then it looked like he was going to be the one that they were going to press with. And then all of a sudden, Otis took over, and I don't really understand the dynamics of what's happened there.
No, they just paired Otis up with Chad Gable again, so it's not that they wanted to keep him as a single star, is it?
The Alpha Academy.
Very wasted.
What are the belts like on this? Sorry, Adam. What are the belts like on those two? Are they? So I've only ever seen pictures. Are they actual cardboard or are they?
I was going to say that they're actually really rubbish. They're just cardboard, and
They are cardboard. I think they've been varnished a little bit, but they are pretty much cardboard.
Mattel, your generosity.
I don't know the significance of those belts, so I don't know where they've come from. But I imagine it's NXT type gimmick.
Yeah, I think it was just a skit that they had about just owning the belts.
Yeah, I think it was the main roster. I think was it Miz and Morrison? I think they had the thing with the cardboard belts.
I think so. I didn't really watch. SmackDown was awful at that point, so I didn't really watch much of it.
Not improved much. What else have you got?
The other ones are still boxed at the moment, but they will soon not be. I decided to get the Blue Herd Sasha Banks. Used my £10 discount from the Bulldog pre-order fiasco from Smiths. And then I got Bayley in a job lot I got from Fantasy Wrestling League member Joey Brannigan. So thank you, Joey. So they will go in. I know, Jono, you absolutely love that figure and the significance of the of the flailing tube man. That's one of your favourite.
Iconic moment. Isn't it?
I wasn't sure it was the biggest moment ever, like everyone says it was, but those two are the pandemic MVPs, so an excellent tag team to pick up.
Yeah, I needed some women in there because I've got no women in there, so that's why I went for the Riot Squad and Bayley and Banks. And I'm just going to update my New Day. So again, Joey Brannigan's job lot gave me Xavier Woods and Big E. And I could manage to get Kofi Kingston. We mentioned the mine sale of WrestleBox earlier. Managed to get Kofi Kingston, brand new in box for £9 posted from the mine sale. So very, very good value there.
WrestleBox can be very generous with these things, can't they?
They can.
They very much can be.
Where are you going with the New Day? Are you going to be getting more versions, or are you just going to stick with that one?
For now, I'm going to have the early version, which I've already got in. And I'm going to have the newer version in the kind of 2020 region, which is those. But as I build the tag teams up, I'll probably get rid of that earlier version and just keep the newer version, I think.
Which early version is it? The Elite?
The orange one.
Orange.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not really early, but it's earlier than these ones.
The Woods is the Xavier Woods is really good. On the Elite, I got the Xavier Woods Elite on the mine sale as well, and it looks really good. I was quite impressed with it. I don't really collect the modern day ones, so I don't really pick up much or look into them. But so I picked a few up for the little one, and yeah, Xavier Woods was really good. The belt's got a lot of detail on there, so quite impressed by that.
Well, I've had one loose in the past. I mean, I've spoke to you about this, but I've had one loose in the past that I sold before I was doing the tag team display, and it had a really enlarged neck where the head didn't go on it properly. So I'm hoping when I crack this one open that it's a little bit better than that.
Lovely.
That's it for my tag team display. So we'll go to one of you two.
I know.
Yes, this is something I should have mentioned last week because it follows on from the episode 4 weeks ago where Adam had received his Brody Lee armbands and he sent me and Jamie one each. So there it is. And Adam did follow through with that free of charge. And I might as well just wear it for the rest of the episode because that's not a Brody Lee tribute.
You
Yeah,
might
cheers
have
for
to
that.
chop your arm off by the end of it.
Yeah.
Sorry?
You might have to chop your arm off by the end of it. They're quite tight.
Yes, they're very tight, even for me, and I'm not got the hugest arms in the world, but yes, I feel I could be getting my blood pressure tipped up with this on.
Cheers for the heads up on that, by the way.
Yeah.
Mine's upstairs in my drawers, but yeah, thanks anyway. I really liked it. It goes over my arm, which I'm surprised that if it fits over Johnny's, but yeah, it does go over there. But yeah, I had a little test on it, but yeah, up there in the old loft on top of my drawers, which is good.
Right, move on.
Lovely. Yeah, we'll start with the LOH quiz, Legion of Hasbro quiz. So we've got one arrival and one depart, unfortunately. As you can tell, my belt's not with me. I lost the quiz by I don't want to say a landslide, but I got creamed. I think as the kids say. I wasn't even on the leaderboard, not even in the top 20, but yeah, shocker. But I did win a prize, so I won the Brock Lesnar Death Clutch story of Brock Lesnar. Such things as his UFC career it goes into, and also his WWE career as well. So not one I would have picked up, but I'm quite happy that I won this over the other prizes, only because it's quite a good read. I have to learn how to read now, won't I? But yeah, quite a good little book that, looking at it from the on the whole.
Is it an authorized one or unauthorized?
Doesn't say.
I'm gonna guess unauthorized. I don't think he'd even have a part with that.
No, it is authorized. I have actually read the first half of it. I read the WWE stuff, but I stopped when it got to the MMA. And that was a few years ago, though. But yeah, it was decent. I just wanted to hear what he thought of wrestling at the time. Probably never ever revisited it, but look up his MMA career because I think it was in the midst of it, so it's not going to cover every bit of the MMA. Maybe just the beginning of it.
Yeah, I'd say looking at it, it covers wrestling for the first half, and then there's even a chapter of Mr. Perfect. So I tell you what, Adam, when I'm finished reading it, I'll send it to you. I'll have a little read of that.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yes, and Arthur beat you again on the LOH quiz, Jamie. Still never beaten me.
Oh. I have, but
We drew last time.
we do. I some of the questions on there, like Joe, I was looking at them. I think I was so nervous to defend my title that I just put the wrong answer. I think one of them was like, who accompanied Shawn Michaels to the ring at WrestleMania 9, and I was in my head, I was like, oh, it wasn't Sherry.
No.
And I was like, oh, it must have been Sherry. And I was like, I pressed Sherry, and then as soon as I pressed it, I was like, it's Luna Vachon, of course it is. I watched it like 3 weeks ago.
You have to really think about it because there is a lot of red herrings in them questions, which is it's a good way to run those types of quiz. And say this every time, Phil does a cracking job.
Yeah, I also don't want to be the knobhead that presses the complete wrong answer when everyone else gets it right. So there's always that bit of pressure on you, isn't there? It shows your little face at the screen, just looking disappointed if you get it wrong.
Yeah. I'm almost certain some of my answers didn't register last time, though.
No, of course.
I would still wouldn't have won. I was nowhere near. I was about 10th or something.
I also had. So Phil also sent me a Ralphus shirt as well.
Why don't you include that picture in right now when you make the video, Jamie?
I'm afraid, Adam, I've forgotten to do that. So that's livid.
You didn't even wear it properly. You're supposed to wear it above the belly.
Not doing that in public.
You should have wore it for this podcast anyway, Jamie.
Honestly, it was the most uncomfortable. I'm not even sure if he washed it, to be honest. It was so uncomfortable to wear, and he drew it on backwards, so it wasn't like the front of it didn't. It was like the front of a t-shirt. It was on the back of the t-shirt. And he turned the t-shirt round. So yeah, and it was a slim fit medium, which
I wouldn't be surprised if that was what the character of Ralphus had actually done as well, just to make added effect to wear it backwards as well.
Well, I'm glad he stuck to the authenticity of it then. But yeah, sadly I couldn't get it off. So that's a hoe get it off.
Where are we going now?
We go back to you, Adam.
Back to me. Well, I had a delivery from Tom Jordan at TSM Customs this week. I know you two guys have seen these. First one is for me, for my tag team display, and it is Crusher Khrushchev from the mid-1980s NWA Russian stable, alongside Nikita and Ivan Koloff. I'm really impressed with this. Absolutely brilliant. Used the Demolition Smash head and remodeled it. I think that's something that Tom's really good at, is actually remodeling the heads. So absolutely brilliant. Smashed it out the park. And the other one is one of our main... Oh, go on.
Yeah, let's talk about the one you just shown first. I've got to admit, when you first showed us this, I think it was probably in the early stages of it being created, I wasn't that impressed, and I thought it didn't look like him or anything. But now that you've posted the final version and we can see it on the screen, I think it's fantastic. It's really well done. Can't fault it at all.
Yeah, it can be a thing with customizing. If you see like early shots or mid shots, I know I've been like, oh no, what have I done when I've ordered something from a customizer, but then they pull it out of the bag in the end 99% of the time.
Yeah, he really did. Very impressed.
And the other one then is one of the main prizes for our Fantasy Wrestling League competition, which you're running, Jono. Chase the Belts. Wanted it to be belt orientated. And it is the boxed custom Mattel Owen Hart figure, complete with 2 Slammies, European, Intercontinental, and Tag Team titles, considering he carried both around for Yoko at the time. You've got obviously the FWL logo, the TSM logo, name Owen Hart, and even the pic on the back as well, with the logos as well. Just massively impressed by Tom with this. I did not expect him to send anything anywhere near this level. He'd get an absolute fortune if he sold this, so I cannot express my appreciation to tsmcustoms.com any more than I already have.
I'm speechless, Jamie.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it? I think I need Karrion Kross to beat Finn Balor at NXT to qualify for that. But yeah, as I say, I'm a loose collector, and that's definitely staying in the box if that comes down to Cornwall. So yeah, it's very, very impressive. I think I've only seen a couple of his customs, that one and the Pearce ones that you send us, Adam, and they're really impressive. So I've never really been a customs guy, but I think he looking at them could turn me.
Well, the good thing about this box is that even if you did win and wanted to display it either way, you can literally just open it and take the figure out and display it loose and put it back in. Because it's not a sealed type thing. It's a bigger protector type box.
It's incredible though, isn't it?
I might go out and limit it's the best custom I've ever seen. That with the whole package, the box, the belt, it's just phenomenal.
Yeah, it's the small little details like that, isn't it? It's just it all fits really nicely in there. So yeah, top work to Tom.
Yes, it was. I'm finding it hard to find the words to see how.
Yeah, maybe you should have put that on last, Adam, because now we've
knocked our socks off.
Yeah, what are we gonna do now?
We'll go back to you, Jamie, for something equally as good, maybe. Or
let's go the complete opposite. Let's drag us down a little bit. So I saw on the groups that Daniel Radcliffe, not that one, the other one. He posted a Nick Aldis Cella Toys figure on there. It's a very good price, like a tenner posted. So I picked it up. There he is. There. It's one of the worst things I've ever seen. It's terrible. I know you guys are saying how bad it is. I'm like, oh, it can't be that bad. It is really bad. Really, really bad. So I'm glad I picked that up.
To just cut you off there, I don't think me and Jono have ever said how bad it is. I think we've mentioned about the head being too big and the fact that it doesn't work as an action or anything, but I don't think we've gone into that level of hatred.
You should have done.
I don't think we hated it that much, but it isn't good. I do agree with that. There's so much more could have been, and it does look like a doll's head.
It's just not. It's just a very weird time. The arms move, great, thank you, but the waist doesn't move, the legs don't move, the painting's a bit shoddy on it. It's just a bit. I'll put it on my display shelf with the retros, but I'm not gonna like it. So Daniel also included a lovely little note for me, which he printed out the entire lyrics to "I've Got a Brand New Combine Harvester." I'm not going to sing it, but yeah, he printed out the whole lyrics to that on there, which is nice to put on there, and he then signed it off. Lots of Liv, the lawyer man, and then put his name there. Not lots of love, because he's dumb and he can't spell. So yeah, thanks for that, Daniel. Appreciate it.
Yes, it sounds like you're really glad with that purchase and happy with Daniel.
Well, I think I was going to order the Nick Aldis anyway, so I'm glad that it was the price that it was. I was going to order it from WrestleBox, I think, and then this was loose. I was going to open it up anyway. So, yeah, it was a purchase I had to make anyway. I like the extra effort that you printed out the lyrics, so I've got a brand new Combine Harvester. I'm not from Cornwall, I'm from Middlesex originally, but yeah, I appreciate the extra effort.
Very well. And yes, let's move on to my purchase, my only purchase of the week. And Jamie's already stole my thunder a little bit because it is the Ricky Steamboat fan takeover. And there it is. And I have got the other one, which was originally raced in the flashback. And I've noticed there's a couple of small little differences in that the takeover has a little 5 o'clock shadow around the goatee. The writing is slightly different on the gi, and extra hands. Not amazing changes, but you can actually tell which is which. Now,
yeah, at least they've done the changes. That's what matters.
I have to decide which one to open. This
Obviously,
box isn't in very good condition, just so you know. Stickers on it, it's creased, all that sort of good stuff. And so is this one, to be fair, because they come from Amazon in the United States, which they don't really look after the packaging too well. So I just need to decide which one to open, because I do want the Build-A-Figure Shawn Michaels. Don't know how easy that's going to be able to get, whether I should try and collect the parts separately or try and buy the whole figure.
I'd say the parts separately is going to be.
How much does it go for nowadays? Have you seen any recently?
I don't know. I haven't really looked to see how I wanted it. I haven't looked.
So I tagged you in something last week. The guy was selling the torso. Could have picked that up then, didn't you? Yeah. The Austin.
Yeah, I would have picked it up if the Austin had the vest, you know, because that's the selling point. It's the only thing that's different about that Austin.
But yeah, and Commissioner Michaels, as a BCA, it was terrible. I think that's the only ever incarnation it's had, isn't it? That form of Michaels.
I think they used that BCA head for the retro, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. I think, are we back to Adam now, or are we?
Yeah. My next 4 are just random pickups from Smiths. I've not quite decided what to do with them yet. Whether they will fit in the shelves behind me, I'm not 100% sure yet. But again, I used a discount that I had to get them. So first one is the AEW Orange Cassidy figure. It's much better than I thought it would be. Like Jono said when he displayed it, I expected the clothes to be really baggy and horrible, and it isn't. It's quite good. So fair play to AEW on that one. I'm still not 100% sold on the face though. Next one is Rhea Ripley from NXT and Raw now. Brilliant for me. It's a decent figure. It's far too thin for Rhea Ripley. She isn't like that. She's got a lot of muscle to her, so a bit disappointed with that side of it. Got the Angel Garza Elites. Again, it's okay. The face isn't as cracking as I first thought it would be. There is slight things that make it not look like Angel Garza, the eyes and the nose and the mouth, basically. So the whole face. It doesn't look as much like him as originally shown, basically. But I do like the trousers. And then for me, by far the best of the 4, and I'm going to say this about a women's figure, it's one of the best figures that Mattel have released. Which is the Zelina Vega figure. It's absolutely amazing as a figure. The face is perfect. The look is perfect. The pose that they've put her in is perfect. The attire, the extras are really good in it. It's really, really good. If you get to see this up close, have a look.
Probably won't see it up close, but I do believe you, and a lot of people have said that as well. So what's your plan with these? Are you maybe going to make a Zelina stable, or?
Yeah, my plan is I don't actually have an Andrade. I sold him before I started my tag team display. So he's started to rocket up in value since his release. So I'll wait until he goes back down a little bit, and I might put him, Garza, and Vega together behind me. Orange Cassidy, depends whether they release Best Friends. If they release Best Friends, then I can put him in the stable as well. But they'll just stay neatly in a box for now, let's say.
I think it's a case of when, not if, for the Best Friends. They'll be coming, I imagine, before Series 10 with the way things are going, but don't quote me on that.
I think they flirted with the idea of having the minivan, didn't they, with Best Friends? It's like a set, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. I'll keep an eye out for any Andrades for you, Adam, if you want to make your little Vega boys.
Regarding the Andrade, I did notice it was in the ringside top 10. I'm not sure if that's due to demand or it was due to being reduced. So maybe have a look on ringside for that. If after this podcast, it might be a little bit.
I've never bought anything from ringside. I've heard bad things on the packaging and the customs. So,
well, you're opening it anyway, and I don't think it would be qualified for customs. So
hopefully not.
No, they've got a WrestleMania sale on at the moment as well. Cheap plug for them. You all done for that bit?
For that bit, yes.
Should we go to BCA land now? Picked up some BCAs this week. Big shout out to Scott Crouch, actually, who messaged me on Facebook and said, I know you're into your BCAs. He sent me a picture of LOD 2000s with the full helmets and the shoulder pads. And he was like, I'll put this to one side for you. So big shout out to him. I've got them, hopefully get them ordered next week and get them popped out to me. But for now, I've got, some BCAs this week. So I got a Bret Hart. My one was a bit battered, so I picked up a better conditioned Bret than the one I had. My one also had the lever on the back, which I didn't really like. So certainly prefer in its BCA form. Also got Shawn Michaels from Superstar Series 1, I believe. that they had there. So there's a few scuffs and marks on there, but for over a 20-year-old figure, it's still really good condition. I've got a Godfather as well because I need him for my little display there on the BCAs. But the selling point for it was the Jim Cornette as our Jim. Annoyingly, I took Jim out of the box. It was perfectly fine. Put the racket in his hand, took a picture for Instagram, put it in the loft, and I broke his tennis racket. So gonna have to glue the racket back together again.
Damn, that's probably more expensive than the figure.
Yeah. Cheers for that. Yeah, it's sort of, sadly the tennis racket broke off, so I've put it in bubble wrap, which I understand is like throwing a deck chair off the Titanic now, isn't it? But it's certainly a really good figure for a Jim Cornette one. I'm trying to collect from the managers, which is the next step. I've got Clarence Mason, I've got Bob Backlund, and now I've got Jim Cornette. So we want to Sable and some of the ladies next. And I also picked up an updated, less bad condition Justin Hawk Bradshaw with hat and rope as well. The guy I bought this from was mint out of the box. He opened it about 6 months ago and decided against it. So mint.
Does look all right with its
yeah, it's decent figure.
Yes.
You can definitely see the getting better, and you're really focusing on the better BCAs, which is how a collection should go. Good stuff.
Yeah, I think I sort of tested the waters originally. I was like, well, I'll pick up the Austins, the Shamrocks, the cheapy £2 ones, and then I figured that, right, I really like these now. I'm going to start to get one of every guy. And that's the dream, is to get one of every single guy, which is not going to be easy, but especially when it comes to the Blue Blazers and some more of the other expensive ones. So, yeah, I'm certainly going to go on that avenue of getting one of each guys, just so when we come to doing the... well, basically, I want to do an episode where we look at BCAs, so we'll have a look at that in the future. And then, yeah, just I got an animal as well, just for fun. And also, I want to talk to you guys about the Backlash series. So do you guys count this as a BCA?
Yes.
No, I don't.
Yes.
See, I didn't, but I do now.
Yeah.
The slightly tighter and the slightly different feel of a material to me.
I would definitely say they are a BCA figure, and yes, go for it.
I mean, the angle-wise, it's a bit bigger. I think scale-wise, Hawk and Animal and Angle are probably about the same size, I'd say. 6 foot, just over. But yeah, Angle's gigantic compared to the others. So I'll have to have a look. I'll pick up a few more of them and just have a little look. So I've got a Guerrero upstairs, but have a little look. And yeah, that's my BCA pickups for the week.
Yes. But when has Jack's ever been concerned about scale?
That's true. That is true.
Actually, I'm going to make an executive decision and go back to me, because I have made an executive decision and decided to open the planned takeover Ricky Steamboat. So,
well, if you enter our giveaway, this is what this could be you.
It could be. This is what you could win. I have noticed since I've opened it and had a bit more look at it, it's got the 3D printing on the face, whereas the flashback one does not. And that's kind of where the 5 o'clock shadow thing on the goatee comes in. So I would say this one is actually the better one out of the two. So yeah, there he is, opened in his full glory.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, it's smashing figure, and it's certainly worthy of a lovely giveaway, especially when it's a US exclusive. There he is.
And to be fair, the detail on it is, I mean, the boots wise, there's a bit of detail on the old boots. All in all, it's a really good figure.
I'm surprised there's nothing on the tights, but I'm guessing that's authentic to what he wore at the time.
Well, I mean, according to the back of it, he wore red tights, didn't he? According to the...
Nice. Didn't know that. Fair enough. Yep. Don't forget to enter. Just subscribe on YouTube or leave us a review wherever you find us.
And it's free.
Right, let's move on.
Right, back to me. So I started trying to collect the R3 Tech jacks the other month, and it just didn't work for me. I didn't like them as loose figures. So I thought to myself, I want to collect some kind of boxed figure. I want to start a new collection, and I want them to be very similar or the same style as R3 Tech. So I've got a new collection that I've just started, and we'll see how this one goes. And it is the draft figures from the Jacks, from the Raw and SmackDown draft figures. So I decided to pick up a couple of really decent boxed ones and a couple of placeholders. So we've got the number 1 SmackDown draft, which is The Rock and his Just Bring It t-shirt. We've got the number 4 Raw draft, which is Rob Van Dam. And the 2 placeholders that I got are the Raw number 2 picks of Kevin Nash and Scott Hall in the NWO attire. Did you 2 ever get any of these?
Well, I've sold quite a lot loose, and I did have a couple mint on card like that. In fact, it took me forever to sell that Scott Hall. So it must have been very sought after. So yeah, and it is missing quite a bit on the Scott Hall. Like, it's just the trunks and the boots. It should at least have knee pads and elbow pads. But
yeah, it's a bit weird, to be honest, as the Scott Hall one. It caused a lot of controversy with these for the back of the figures, because there is a lot of people listed on here where you can't actually get the figures. I remember at the time, I wasn't hugely into wrestling at the time. I was kind of on my way out, but I really enjoyed Sean Stasiak for some reason. I don't know why. And he's on here, and it says stuff like Sean Stasiak only found on Planet Stasiak, and it says Terry, as if you have a chance. And a lot of people thought that just meant they were really rare, so I went looking for them, but actually they didn't make them, which I quite like it, to be honest. I know a lot of people are annoyed by it, but I find it quite funny, to be fair. So yeah, bit of facts on those ones.
There was a kid, I remember when I was about 12, I think, when these came out. There's a kid at the bottom of my road who just moved in, who once we went around his house, he had a couple of these ones before I even knew about them. So I was a bit jealous. He had the Rock and the white Just Bring It t-shirt, the tank top.
Yeah.
I think he had a Billy and a Chuck as well, I think, and a couple of other ones. But yeah, I remember them being a lot better than the Titantron ones, I think, was what they preceded. So yeah, I was really impressed with them when they first came out.
I love the back of the box with all that. Doesn't it say how many were made as well? So it's like...
Yeah, so it's exactly how many for each person, ranging from about 30,000 down to Spike Dudley, which is 5,000.
Yeah,
that's good.
I like that.
I quite like that.
Yeah.
Jamie, you got any more?
Just the one from Smiths. A Richard Flair turn up Funko with the Rumble pin on there. Truth be told, I wasn't really going to collect Funko. I don't collect Funkos, but so I quite liked it. I quite like the pin. Rumble 92 is my favourite one. One thing I will point out, which I don't like about it, is that it's got the big gold WCW title with it, with the Royal Rumble pin and the Rumble attire, which
that's weird.
I don't like that.
It did feel right that have the big gold in the WWF, so maybe it's depicting when he brought the illegal belt over to the WWF.
Yeah, that's fair enough, but don't have the Rumble pin with it then. Have the Survivor Series around that sort of time that you come over with it, 91. So yeah, just don't just have Rumble attire and no belt with it.
Mismatch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it from me for this week.
Any more, Jono?
All out.
So last one from me then. Managed to get this after a lot of searching through a friend of a friend of a friend. And it is...
Hasn't got any friends.
the $1 Million Man Legends Chase figure. Quite pricey, this one. I've put the second head on it, which is the laughing head. It looks much better than the other head on it. One thing I was slightly gutted about, although it is a beautiful figure, is it's got a different silvery finish than the Virgil figure. So the Virgil figure has got a shiny silver suit, and the $1 Million Man one is like a matte finish silver suit, where I thought they'd try and do it similar, because it is a very similar colour, but it's not quite the same.
Yeah, we did discuss that when we first seen them announced and first shown, whether it would have a shiny, metallic look to it, and I'm very gutted to hear that it hasn't. I've also heard that the scale is pretty bad. Is it really short?
No, it's not. I mean, I don't know the exact heights of $1 Million Man and Virgil, but they're pretty much the same here. So, I mean, you compare it to IRS, but IRS is in that suited attire where they're all absolutely massive, because they use the same model for Kane as they do for IRS. So it could just be that one. I mean, I've not put it with the rest of my figures yet, but with Virgil, it's the same height.
But what about the comparison to another Elite $1 Million Man? Have you tried that?
No, but I can do now.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same.
I wonder what all the fuss was about then, because it doesn't...
I think it's just next to IRS, because that IRS model is so tall.
Yeah. I've got my IRS next to a basic $1 Million Man. Looks all right together, but yeah, looks good. I'm definitely wanting to get that. I'm trying to find the bundle of 5 for a decent price.
Yeah.
So I can get every single one, but not come across anything that's that good in value yet. I'll wait.
I think Toys and Masters just listed them separately, haven't they?
Yeah, if you're going to get it in a bundle, it's probably going to be from USA, isn't it?
Yeah, and they seem to come down in price after a few months, or maybe a few weeks after release. So, like the Greg Valentine chase became quite accessible to get months after its release, as well as the rest of the series. So I'm not going to really go at it quickly this time.
No, it's a nice series, but I think it is one that will have a few more on the shelf than the original ones with Valentine in.
Okay.
Are we all out of pick-me-ups?
All good.
Lovely stuff. Well, we got WrestleMania 17 next, boys. We better brace ourselves for that bad boy, haven't we?
Let's go.
Back in a...
Break it down!
Break it down time now. We're looking at WrestleMania 17, just like we did for WrestleMania 7 in the last episode. We're breaking it down match by match, as widely considered one of the best WrestleManias of all time. First of all, guys, thoughts on this event as a whole, as a youth watching it, if you did. Johnny, what's your remembrance of this?
This was a time where I didn't have Sky or access to watch WWF, so I didn't catch it at the time, unfortunately. But I was into wrestling and stuff, and I'd watched the Royal Rumble because that was on Channel 4. But no, I didn't watch it. Didn't have the access to view it.
This was my first year of university when this was on, so I was more into having fun, etc., than watching telly and stuff. And obviously, being away from the folks, didn't have Sky or anything like that. So yeah, I don't think I even watched this one live.
This is my last year of primary school, Adam, just to make you feel old this year. I remember this one was on Sky Sports. I think it was Rumble 2000 was on Channel 4. Rumble 2001, I think, was on... But this was on Sky Sports 1, I believe, not Sky Box Office. And I used to have that illegal cable box. And I remember recording Sky Box Office by accident, not Sky Sports 1. So I had to wait until the Wednesday when they repeated it on Sky Sports before I could get a chance to watch it, which was annoying. Yeah, that was the sort of memory of that as an 11-year-old me watching it. Really good event, big hype for it. Commentary team of JR and Paul Heyman. What do you guys think of them as a whole? Adam, what's your view on those?
I think they worked okay. I mean, I'll go into a bit more detail about Heyman as we go along, but they obviously weren't best mates like Lawler and Ross were, and it was a different dynamic. It didn't last very long, this partnership. It soon petered out. But I quite enjoyed it. I mean, I can look back at it now, like watching it over the past couple of days. I can appreciate quite a lot more of Heyman. You can tell bits where Ross just doesn't rise to Heyman, and there's not the same togetherness as there is with other ones. But yeah, it was okay. They're both knowledgeable people.
I think Heyman did a good job getting the heels over, whereas Lawler might not have done as good a job on that aspect of it.
Yeah, definitely. Heyman just shouts throughout the whole thing, which I quite like the energy of it. Brings every time you hear Paul Heyman on commentary, it takes me back to that time, which is always good. That sort of invasion angle on there. Right, so dark match wise, we had X Factor, Justin Credible and X Pac with Albert defeated Grandmaster Sex and Steve Blackman. I won't be covering that because I went back and watched it just for a laugh anyway. Just listened to that absolute banging theme tune that X Factor had. Yeah, not much. X Factor one.
You wouldn't have listened to it on this show because it didn't have the classic Uncle Cracker lyrics at this point.
Oh, I watched the night after on Raw. I think they had it on that as well.
Or maybe they've like dubbed it in because that was one of the things that I noticed from a review, that it didn't have the Uncle Cracker lyrics at this point. But yeah, absolute banger. Before we get into it, I do have a couple of fun facts. It's the first stadium show since SummerSlam 92 for the WWF. So they're hitting record stuff. And speaking of records, it's the first ever pay-per-view to break 1 million pay-per-view buys.
Big boys.
I think the hype around the whole pay-per-view as a whole was just worth of that, I would have thought. They really did a good job on this, from the whole building Austin up throughout 2000.
Yeah, the camera work on the crowd as well was particularly good at the beginning of the show. I don't know if it's because we've been in lockdown and not had any crowds, but it just looked immense as the camera panned around the crowd. It just looked like way above anything you could possibly imagine.
And the flash photography, oh my God, that's a thing from yesterday, really, isn't it? Too many flashes in the crowd, I would say anymore, but, last year or something when there was crowds. Amazing, especially in that TLC match.
So that the signs would do my head in back then. If you went to go and watch an event and you just have some bloke in front of you with a sign.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. There was thousands and thousands of signs in this one. I thought exactly the same thing when I watched it.
Hopefully that was just in the entrances and stuff, because I usually get told to sit down and stuff during the matches.
Hopefully. Right, so let's start off with Jericho versus Regal for the IC title. Good match opener, good show opener, should we say. Good bit of feud in there as well. I think it all started from Jericho weeing in Regal's tea, remember rightly? One thing I liked about this was, sort of took it back a little bit, was that Regal did his entrance, he come down, and during the entrance they had the little flashback of why this fight was happening and why the story was happening, which I quite liked. I think they don't do it as well now as they used to with that sort of thing.
It's because there's no storylines that build up properly nowadays. So this was one of those storylines that built up properly. It's an iconic moment. Regal's face when he drinks that tea is one of my favorite ever moments in wrestling. There's only Regal that could have pulled that off as well as he did. I was really happy that Regal got this match. Nice showcase at Mania for him. Really good.
You see how Regal's the only person that would pull it off, but the guy from the policeman from Dumb and Dumber. I love that scene. It's obviously where it's come from as well. So
yeah, fair play.
Classic. The match was pretty good. You say it was a bit short, and the finish just seemed a bit flat. But it was hard hitting and some good spots. And yeah, I love a Regal match.
Yeah, it was really good in this one. I think his moves I used to like the Regal Cutter back in the day. The Regal Stretch was obviously a classic, and then up until we did the Power of the Punch, we put the brass on. He did a knee at one point as well. But overall, for a quite a bland character of William Regal, we certainly got the most out of it.
Yeah, I remember thinking back, I didn't think much of him at the time because my first exposure was in late WCW where he was used as a bit of a jobber. So it wasn't, shown too well there. And it was only probably until the mid 2000s that he became on my radar as an excellent performer.
I think I was the opposite to that. I absolutely adored him when he came into WWE. I thought his range of characters and his range of emotions that he displayed were absolutely brilliant. So he was a good one for me. Helps that he was from Blackpool, which is near where I grew up. Regal's suplex game in this match was immense, really good. There was a couple of ones where Jericho landed just right. I was a bit, you mentioned the finish. I couldn't work out which version of this it was. So either the story in the match was really good and they stressed the Jericho shoulder injury, and that's why he didn't get the walls on, and that's why he finished with the lion tamer. Or the commentators just did a really good job of covering up at the end why the finish was a bit flat, like you say. So I still haven't quite figured out which one of those it is.
Yeah, that actually does make a lot of sense with the story of the match. You couldn't apply the walls, so did something else. Works for me. It seemed to come early, out of nowhere. So that was what I meant, rather than the finisher.
It was a 7-minute match, which I think back then is basically a main event level, isn't it? That's sort of early 2000s run. We ready to move on? You got any other tidbits about the match?
Not about the match, so let's move on. Next segment, my God, Bradshaw absolutely yapping on about absolutely nothing. Nothing that anyone outside of Texas even cares about. He was going on about the things that are happening in the stadium, talking about American football or baseball or some rubbish. Why would we care about this? Hated that segment so much.
Yeah, the whole show was themed about Texas, but that was particularly grating.
Yeah.
It's just Taz and the APA with Jacqueline. I think Jacqueline's from Texas as well, isn't she? So it's a big feel-good moment for the crowd because Bradshaw's also from Texas. I used to love Bradshaw's clothesline from hell. It's one of my favourite finishing moves back in the day. So always good to see it, and it's good to see Taz used as he should have been used back then and getting a win. But Right to Censor were decent. I used to like them as heels. I used to hate them, but looking back at them, I can see their place on the card.
So I'm going to come straight in there and completely disagree with you about Taz. Taz did absolutely nothing in that match. He got destroyed the whole way through until he tagged in the APA. That, for me, was the death line for Taz. It showed that WWE didn't care about him whatsoever. He came in without his kind of towel on his head. He had a very normal entrance, and he got annihilated the whole way through the match. The match was... To be fair, for me, I really enjoyed this match because every single move that happened was really hard hitting. I think that Right to Censor as a group don't get enough credit. I think they were the perfect stable group. They've got a Stevie Richards who wasn't involved in this match anywhere near enough for me, on the microphone, getting cut out at the start straight away. I get it. It was a pop for the crowd, but I wanted some Stevie. And then you've got two people who you would never have imagined in this role, Val Venus and The Godfather, completely changing their personality. The group was put together perfectly, and I really enjoyed this match. I was just disappointed at the amount of action Taz got.
Right. I'm going to agree and disagree with you about Taz in that I agree he was absolutely rubbish in this match and got portrayed as such. He even fell over at one point, didn't he? He fell against the middle rope and fell flat backwards after that. But what I disagree on is that this is what killed him. He was done long before this. Certainly in the year 2000, he was already ruined.
Yeah, the point I was making was just that it's where Taz should be, is winning matches, not getting Raven to help him to beat an old Jerry Lawler. Was my point.
There's no point in winning a match though if you're showcased like he was. There's no.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just poor for our Taz, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, I agree about the underrated RTC, right? Censor, really good group, and Stevie Richards phenomenal on the mic, and did that job perfectly. And to be honest, looking at him when I watched this yesterday, seems to look younger now than he did back then, 20 years ago. I don't know if you've seen him recently.
He's aging well.
He's involved in the DDP yoga thing. He works for DDP and that sort of thing. So he's in phenomenal shape still. And yeah, it just seems to look younger 20 years later.
And one of my biggest gripes with Right to Censor was on SmackDown 2, I think it was, their entrance music used to always wake my dad up whilst playing it into the late hours, and he used to always hear the alarm over anyone else's. So I had to always try and book to not face them, but lo and behold, in the career mode, I always end up facing one of them. Lovely. So next we got Kane, Raven, and The Big Show in the triple threat hardcore match. Great match, bit of controversy around the middle of the match. I'm sure one of you guys have got a fact on that, have you?
Yeah. Go on then, Adam. You can tell us the fact.
Just that apparently they were a quarter of an inch away from cutting out the power to the whole stadium during this match, is the fact that I've got, where they didn't practice a spot of they thought they would hit a metal like a mesh and then just bounce straight back off, but there was a little well underneath where the mesh was, and the wheels went into the mesh, and that was where all the main power cables for the stadium were. So they were a quarter of an inch of cutting out the entire power,
as well as ruining the main spot of the match with a chase through the stadium on the golf carts.
Which it was prime 2001. This was, I loved it. Everything, just from throwing Raven through the glass, just to the little golf chase, and yeah, just the referee being involved. It was just a lovely time. You can watch that back.
Lots of walking around though.
Yeah, it made me think of the Edge Orton match from last year's Mania.
Oh, yeah.
I reckon they watched that match before they prepared theirs, because there was quite a lot of similarity with the walking and stuff.
I thought the exact same thing while I was watching it.
They could have done with a golf cart in the Edge Orton match, couldn't they?
And about a quarter of an hour less.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Half an hour long.
But yeah, all in all, I say it's a fun match. I think it's one that everyone looks back on now as a fun match. I think Kane's even had a figure made from the match, hasn't he? With the hardcore title based off there. But, the finish was quite good. Big boot, big show into the little what do you call it? Like a pit, and then the flying elbow drop into there.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought the match was really well put together. Although you wouldn't imagine Raven playing a chicken character, I think it was done quite well, because obviously the two other guys were absolutely huge, so he had to kind of play that role. I bet he hated it, because to be honest, it's not his character whatsoever, but he pulled it off and he did really well with it.
Raven hated everything. He was just miserable.
Nevermore. Lovely. So next we've got Eddie Guerrero versus Test, which is the European title. This was a good Eddie Guerrero for me. I quite like the match based off some of the moves that he did, some of the characteristics he had. Test was quite over. I was surprised at how over Test was for this period. But all in all, I thought it was a relatively decent match for a lower mid-card match at that time.
Not one I've paid too much attention to while watching, but Eddie can get a match out of anyone, really, can't he? And the little spot where Test was stuck in the rope was pretty funny. I'm not sure if it was intentional.
No, it wasn't.
No, there's no way it could, because Eddie Guerrero untied him and then just continued to punch him on the floor. And it's like, well, why don't you just punch him when he was tied up? I remember thinking I was a kid.
Yeah, the match did what it was needed to do. It served a purpose to put the strap on Eddie. Test is very underappreciated, going back to the point that you made. He was well over with the crowd almost his entire career, up until the kind of bit where he joined ECW and stuff. He was really over with the crowd, so he doesn't get the plaudits that he deserves, because people look at his kind of the look of him and think bland straight away, whereas he wasn't. He got the crowd reaction. There was a beautiful moment where he hit a boot on Eddie, and the actual sound of that boot hitting Eddie's head was amazing. I was a bit confused on this one. Maybe you can enlighten me as to why Malenko wasn't out in the first place, because the Radicals were still together, weren't they, by then? So I just didn't understand why he wasn't there.
I think it just was to make the finish. Didn't make any other sense other than that, really.
Yeah,
well,
Radicals were.
In that case, it doesn't make any sense, because why have Sutton out with him? Not Malenko, just didn't make sense.
Yeah, the Radicals are still together then, because they appeared the next night on Raw, their 6-man tag. So they were still together.
I guess
Sutton
Benoit
looked good. I enjoyed his blonde mustache.
Yeah.
His big old hat. Right, Kurt versus Benoit next. Another thing that they don't do as well these days as they did back then, there was a segment earlier in the show where Kurt was watching a video from SmackDown of him tapping out, not in a match. And he was saying to Edge and Christian, I didn't tap out because it wasn't in a match, doesn't count. And I think that these days, they don't really do that as much with the pay-per-views. They don't really go back and look at previous SmackDowns or show people backstage analysing previous performances and so on. So I quite like that little skit that they had building into the match, and there was a good little storyline going into there. But all in all, I think it was a good 15-minute match from the pair of them.
They're too busy nowadays advertising and having the 24/7 title, which is in between pay-per-views, which is like you say, it's a disappointment. This match was good. I didn't really enjoy the start of this match because Benoit tried to show off his mat wrestling skills, like not professional wrestling skills, whereas I think he would have been better starting in a more technical professional wrestling aspect, because some of the moves that he did, they just weren't fluent enough because he wasn't experienced in that side of wrestling as much. But the match on the whole was pretty good. I didn't like the finish, but
going back to the little skit with Edge and Christian and Angle watching himself tap out, that was a perfect move for the heel who was playing. It was really good character work, just sets up the story of the match as well. And I kind of disagree in that I do like that sort of mat wrestling at the beginning. Maybe you think Benoit wasn't good at it or something, but I think it still came across well. I quite enjoyed that, and that's the sort of thing that impresses me and something that I may try and implement in my own style if I'm good enough at it.
Yeah, I think that this is what sets this apart from a lot of manias, is that it had such a blend of different styles. It had the brawling side of things, which we'll come to in a second with the Taker Triple H. It had the hardcore side of things with the hardcore match, and once again the McMahon match we'll come to in a second. And it also had the quick through Bradshaw brawling match again. So I think that was the thing that I quite like this pay-per-view, was the blend of it. And I think the technical side of things and the wrestling skills from Angle and Benoit really just put themselves aside from the other cards. So that's what I really liked about this card. Have any of you guys got any tidbits about this match?
Not really, but Heyman was pretty good in this match. I think he put it over quite well.
Yeah, definitely. I think he was certainly putting Angle over quite well, and Benoit's skills as well. So props to him on that one. We got China versus Ivory next. Right to censor banned from ringside. China, this is the whole neck injury comeback thing from China, wasn't it?
Yeah, this match is awful, completely rubbish. So it starts at the beginning, the hold harness, absolute BS stipulation, unsanctioned match. We've seen a few lately. It doesn't make any sense. If you're going to have these matches or the lights out, anything like that, I don't buy it at all. It's so phony. To be not liable. In fact, I didn't do any research, but on one of the podcasts I listened to, the guy said he did look into it, and regardless of any hold harness or unsanctioned or lights out match, the company is still liable for any injuries that may take place. So even legally, it's complete nonsense.
Yeah, agreeing with what you said, I'm going to say that this was a perfect match. And I do think it was a perfect match. It was perfect for the transition from China, the bulking, I'm going to wrestle men match, to China, I'm going to become the women's champion. I'm going to look different. I'm going to have more of a feminine side to me, but I'm still going to destroy my opponent. Ivory was the perfect choice for opponent. She took all those moves really, really well on the whole. And it was destruction. And that's exactly what was needed while still showing the feminine woman side of China.
Absolutely, massively disagree. This was just a massive China ego fest where she ran down the ring with jazz hands like this, like a jobber, as if she didn't give a crap. She was so unprofessional the whole way through. You know, just you can't fault Ivory. She did her job perfectly. I'm just, you know, 20 years on, you hear stories about how China just has this ego, massive ego, and you pretty much say that actually was the match that killed the women's division. What happened to the women's belt after that? Gone.
Lita got it, didn't she?
Killed it.
Well, that's good. Let's move on to Shane versus Vince. So yeah, it was I think it was 6 nights after Shane bought WCW, which we're recording this on a Saturday, which was yesterday, 20 years ago, which is a good anniversary for it, really. Mick Foley was originally slated to fight Vince, apparently, but Mick Foley turned it down a couple of times, which I can see why. If he's injured, he's enjoying his retirement. Why not? What do you guys think on the whole about the whole saga, the whole soap side of things for this match?
I'm going to throw a couple more tidbits in before I talk about the actual match. There was a rumor about Shawn Michaels being involved in this match in some way, shape, or form, and he was fired 6 days earlier, I believe, for turning up at a conference, like a press conference or some kind of showcase, and he'd had something that he shouldn't have had. And he was very, very out of it, apparently. So as soon as Vince found out what it was, he was fired. WCW were also supposed to be involved in this match, but Sean Stasiak ruined that before the event by, in an interview, telling the people what was actually going to happen. So that, for me, that could be a death nail in WCW from the start. Even the camera work trying to show WCW in that box was awful. They couldn't even do that properly. And, you know, the WCW people didn't know when the cameras were on them, obviously. It was just really silly as far as Stasiak is concerned. And even if he did give it away, they probably still should have done it to give WCW a bit of credibility.
I'm surprised Stasiak even appeared on WWF TV. The amount of mistakes and things he's done in the past. Didn't he get fired because he was recording conversations and things like that? He seems a bizarre character, but yeah, maybe he does live on. Yeah. But that roster, the WCW roster, was absolutely shocking, wasn't it? Compared to, you know, the stars they had and things like that. I think Chavo Guerrero was probably the biggest name in there.
Yeah, Charlotte and Lance Storm, I think, was in there. But so once again, he was mid-card at best. But I think you did get some good things out of the invasion angle. You got RVD and Booker T come over.
Yeah, that's a different matter. We're talking about what happened in WrestleMania 7.
But right there, yeah. So right there was just an absolute horror show, should we say, the people that were actually there. I don't know how they would have fitted into the match because it was already overbooked, I think, looking at what happened at the end of the match. So how they would have fitted into there, what Sean Stasiak said, it could be, I don't know how they would have fitted in.
As far as the match, I really dislike this match. It's not for me at all. Like you say, it's massively overbooked with the stupid thing with Linda. It's a way to turn Trish face, I guess. Vince is absolutely terrible during this match at giving punishment and at taking punishment. It's a mess. It's a car crash of a match. And everyone says it's a car crash of a match, but most people say it's a car crash that worked. I don't think it worked.
Who was the MVP of this match?
Linda.
Zombie Linda. She did her job absolutely perfectly, and she got the biggest pop of the whole night almost. When she stood up out of that chair, it was unbelievable. Brilliant.
I remember as a child, literally Linda standing up. It was immense. Just once again the flash photography going off in the background. That's what sticks in my memory is all the flashes kicking off, Linda standing up, and then kicking in the crown jewels. That's always the
But Vince even managed to ruin that bit, because if you watch it, he actually doesn't give Linda a chance to have the time to actually do it, and he gestures to her. He nods down, going, "Do it," basically, and he ruins that bit. So,
I didn't know that, but yeah, Linda, when she was playing that zombie character, she never moved at all. She did it brilliant. Should have got her on TV more, I think. What I'm saying about the finish, absolutely ruined by Mick Foley. All you see is him gradually move closer and closer to the camera where Vince is going to be hit by the Van Terminator, and he stands right in the way. So they have to change the angle, which made it look not as impressive.
The sound, though, the sound was impressive. That always takes that slap of the trash can being hit as always sticks in my mind. But yeah,
but it was the camera angle was ruined, unfortunately.
The camera angles. Anyone got any other tidbits on this soap opera? A nope opera. So next, from arguably, in some people's opinion, the worst match on the show to the most famous match, in my opinion, on the show is the TLC 2. Edge and Christian, Dudley Boys and the Hardy Boys. Absolute spot fest. I loved it as a child. Go back watching it now. I think I love it even more now. Really, really good. What do you guys think about the styles that the three bring to the table and the match as a whole?
It just works, doesn't it? They did it last year, and they've had other matches. I think they've had 2 or 3 similar matches before this already. So you knew what you were getting. You're going to get a load of good spots, most of them excellently executed, especially the Edge spear and Jeff Hardy from the belts, which is replayed over and over. I mean, that spot couldn't have been any better. I enjoyed the match, but I do think I enjoyed the WrestleMania 2000 one better. I think there was too many run-ins, the Later and Spike and Rhino run-ins. It was too much.
Yeah, I completely agree. The other match was better. This one was really good, don't get me wrong, but there was a bit too much involvement in it. Each of them had a story, and I get that, but there wasn't need for as much time as they gave the others. They pretty much gave them half the match, which they didn't need to do. They could have focused on the 6 people in the ring. I think Heyman really, really annoyed me during this match. The amount that he went on about Rhino, especially, was just, it took away from the competitors in the match. I get that Rhino was the defining person in the end of the match, but Heyman just went way, way, way above what he should have in this one. And for Spike as well, Lita was in ECW as well, so it just seemed like he really focused on himself and ECW rather than the actual competitors in the match in this.
Yeah,
I didn't pay attention, but I can agree with you.
I know what you mean. I think as soon as Rhino appeared, it was the Man Beast, and they just literally named where he was from, what weight he was, what height he was, and all of his credentials within 30 seconds. So I think the reason I like this match so much, or this series of matches, so the Triangle Ladder from Mania 2000, the TLC from SummerSlam, and this one, is I think Edge and Christian won all 3. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. It was obviously they had the Hardy Boys being the risk takers, you had the Dudley Boys being the brawlers and the lunatics, basically, when it comes to the fighting, and then Edge and Christian as the intelligence side of things. So I think that it made sense to have Edge and Christian win all 3 because the intelligence overall prevails, isn't it? So I think that's why I quite liked the dynamics of it and having Edge and Christian as the winners for all 3 matches, really.
Yeah, point. I've got to say, when I'm watching it back, at the time, this felt really special. Something that was completely different to what you see, or what you're seeing at the time. Watching it 28 years later, we get matches like this almost every month or every 2 months or so, where it's like a big ladder match with loads of crazy spots or things like that. So it over time, it's become just so blasé that we're going to see all these sort of big death-defying moves through tables and things that it's almost become numb to it.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. It's the kind of same thing that if a kid these days watched Shawn Michaels raise Ramon in the first ladder match, they'd be like, shrug shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's shame, really, but I mean, it's good that it's transpiring away to the current day matches, but it just loses that bit of magic, doesn't it? But I think this match still holds up, in my opinion, though.
Oh yeah, it definitely holds up. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying it doesn't feel special anymore. Figure-wise, I hope we can get the Edge from this match, because I think I would make a cracking figure with the purple pants and the purple duster. Looks really cool, and the glasses, and it'll match the Christian that's already out. I know we got a basic, but nobody wants that.
I think this was definitely a star-making performance for Edge. I think this is when I first started to see him as like a star, because I think after this he then went on to, well, a few months down the line, a singles career. So I think, yeah, this is definitely a making moment for Edge.
Yeah, it might have been when Lita first had her eyes on Edge as well, because what did JR mention when she first entered the ring? She's jerking Edge off. She's jerking Edge off. Bit of a precursor to what was to come.
Cursor was right in that one.
Spike Dudley got his front two teeth knocked out in this one as well by Jeff Hardy's swanton.
Ouch. That swanton in a draw, never mind through the table.
The spot was really nice off the ladder onto Bubba, which was really good. So I think he only caught him with like the back of his neck, but the table still broke in a perfect way, which I really liked about Attitude Era.
I think that was the spot that made me think about what I just said about it becoming, because I remember at the time thinking, wow, that was the best thing I've ever seen. But now I've watched it again. I've seen that 20 times in the last 20 years. So it's become not special.
If you go back and watch Rumble 2000, the Hardys versus the Dudleys in that, the table match they had, I think that still holds up more so than the TLC match. If you go back and watch, because I don't think they do table matches like that these days, where it's elimination. So that was really good. So if you get a chance, go back and tuck into that one.
Yeah, just to confirm, I'm not saying it doesn't hold up.
No, but give it Battle Royal time. So we have now look one by one for the participants of the match. So we've got the Bushwhackers, Luke and Butch, Duke the Dumpster Drosy, Doink the Clown, Nikolai Volkov, Tugboat the Goon, Earthquake, Gobbledygooker, Brother Love, Michael Hayes, One Man Gang, Kamala with Harvey Whippleman, Kimchi, Jim Cornette, Repo Man, and Sergeant Slaughter. What a lineup! What a squad! Before we get into any bits for this, guys, have you got any tidbits for me, fact-wise?
I'll go. Yes, so there was a few people that were meant to be in who were either declined or got told not to come. The Honky Tonk Man and King Kong Bundy declined. Corporal Kirshner was supposed to be in it and was advertised. He was actually in one of the match graphics, but never materialized. I'm not sure why. And Gilbert was also meant to be in it, but because of the acquisition of WCW, they didn't want to think that Goldberg was going to be coming in anytime soon, so he never got in the match.
Yeah, also Hakeem was supposed to be in rather than One Man Gang, but One Man Gang, but he was too small basically to fit into the Hakeem costume, so we missed out there.
Which is the opposite of the Iron Sheik, who was too big for his outfit and had to, and his belt was even too big, so he had to put tape around his waist so his pants stayed on. Bless him.
Yeah, so all in all, it was very sluggish, this match, as you'd expect from veterans of yesteryear, even for back then. Iron Sheik was just waddling around the ring, wasn't he? It was very, very strange. on the whole. What's your guys' views on this?
It was just an entrance, really, wasn't it? You wanted to see the guys come out and wave for the crowd and maybe do a couple of the gestures and stuff. It was never about the actual match. It was also hugely a lot to do with Mean Gene and Bobby Heenan, who were on commentary. And Bobby Heenan famously did some cracking lines. Most notably, it'll be WrestleMania 38 by the time the Iron Sheik gets to the ring.
Yeah, I really liked it. Obviously, they didn't have the same chemistry as Heenan and Gorilla, but it was still really good. It was what it was. And the only thing I was disappointed from a personal aspect is that Tugboat went out in less than a minute, and there was no interaction between Tugboat and Earthquake, which I would have really liked to see.
I imagine they just got told to get it over and done with as soon as possible. It was mostly just everyone helping each other over the top rope, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, you had to make way for a Limp Bizkit concert, which was coming up, I imagine, didn't they? So yeah, I think all in all, the match is very sluggish. Iron Sheik, why he won is I'm not sure why they put him over. I think Slaughter would have been the obvious. Oh, hands up!
Why.
What have you got there?
One is because he was never going over that top rope. He couldn't take a bump. So the only way to avoid that was have him win the match.
I set that up for you there, didn't I?
Literally, the only way he won is because he wasn't going over that top rope physically.
I think his trousers could have took it.
I do remember at the time or around the time being very annoyed that he won. The younger version of me.
Yeah. I mean, if he could go over the top rope, who do you think was probably the best to win it?
Slaughter.
Yeah, probably is the biggest name in it, I would say.
Yeah. It would have to be. I think he's the only former world champion there.
Apart from Sheik.
Cheeky baby.
Yeah, sorry, the only other world champion there. Sorry, so yeah, no one else comes to, yeah, I mean, Slaughter. I mean, I'm surprised Brother Love lasted so long in the match. Yeah. But yeah, I think Slaughter would have been, I think obviously he got the big finish at the end, didn't he, where he put the Sheik in there.
I suppose that was what they could only really do, get a bit of heat back at the end.
Either that or they treat it like a Divas Battle Royal and they can go through the ropes would have been the other option.
I don't even think the Sheik could manage that.
Right, so yeah, from those legends, let's move on to another pair of legends. So we got Taker versus Triple H. Once again, this is the most Attitude Era match I've ever watched. It was just had everything. It had Undertaker dropping an elbow drop on the referee, and he was unconscious for 10 plus minutes. Use that as your finishing move, Undertaker, because that is spectacular. Fighting in the crowd, it had literally everything you could possibly want from an Attitude Era match. I really liked it, watching it back. What do you guys think? Adam, what's your views?
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of both of these competitors at the time, to be honest with you. But the match was one of the better ones of this. I think the other Triple H Taker match at Mania is the one that they go on and on and on and on about. And this one was better. But like you say, it was a spot fest. It had the old onto the almost carpeted, the choke slam onto the carpeted bit.
It was a match.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, that bit was actually a mattress and the camera should not have picked up on it. It was a poor camera angle to choose because it just exposed it completely. I'm going to drop back to the beginning before the match started and the Triple H entrance because it was absolutely hilarious. I can't remember the words for the Triple H's entrance theme, so he just sings any old crap that sounds like it. If you want to go back and listen to it, it's so funny. Honestly, it just sings all the wrong lyrics and stuff, and yeah, I laughed me back off at that. Yes, so
was it at this time? I think I would have had WWF Volume 4 music, which had I'm pretty sure I had the Triple H theme on there. So I don't know every single word. So I think it would have, a lot of people would have back then. So it must be a major slip up. I didn't even notice that myself, but I think a lot of kids would have noticed that back then.
You probably just went and think, I've got this. I wrote this song. I know what I'm doing. Just
no, nope. You don't.
I am the game all the time.
Oh, he is. One thing I'll point out as well before we tuck into this match is Triple H, how at this point, because I watched this and I went back and watched a few Raws after WrestleMania 17. And I think if you look at Triple H, and he can literally turn heel face as many times as he wanted to, because I think he still got that pop. The night after on Raw when he came out, he had a massive pop. He was wearing his denim jacket and so on. And I think that is such a compliment to Triple H and what he used to do us do back then, because he was probably the best heel we've had, I'd say, of all time.
Yeah, I agree that you can turn it on and off like the heel and babyface, and the crowd were into it either way. So, yeah, I agree with that. I don't know if he's the best heel of all time or anything, but he certainly had that ability to do so. I do wonder the pop on the next night was more to do with Austin than it was with Triple H.
It was.
So that's just going into the future. This match, yes, that referee bump was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And I don't know why this wasn't just a Falls Count Anywhere or a street fight type deal. I guess it was to make the main event a bit more special with it being no DQ. But if they're going to do that match, make it a no DQ, because the ref bump made no sense.
Yeah. I think it was just over 10 minutes he was down, which I don't take as a big lad, but that's just taking the biscuit a bit, isn't it?
Initially scheduled, well, they wanted, it wasn't scheduled, but they wanted Triple H Tyson, apparently, instead of this match. But Mike Tyson turned out way too expensive.
I've never heard that one, I've got to admit.
The Triple H probably lost that one as well. Right, should we move on to the big one?
Michelle?
Yeah.
So after a little prelude from Limp Bizkit, Singing My Way, and the full video package, which was just fantastic, wasn't it? The whole package on there. The whole program of... Oh, sorry, Johnny, go ahead.
You could say that it's the best video package of all time, really. The music and the whole build-up and things like that. It was just... they made it seem very, very special, and it was really well done.
I'll tell you what, I think watching it back, having the whole lyrics to My Way, and then what happens at the end of the match just makes complete sense. I don't know whether it was just a coincidence or whether it was poetry in motion, but I think that's sort of what always sticks in my mind is he's going to do it his way, and his way is what happened at the end of the match. So I think that sort of always reminds me as a kid of that, the heel turn and so on. So, but yeah, the package-wise, I think it was just the whole going through 2000 with the car accident and when he got run over and what happened throughout that, and then just having the redemption, winning the Rumble, and then leading up to this moment where, I mean, let's be honest, The Rock was over as hell in this. He was fantastic in this match as well. So yeah, guys, any tidbits on this match before we tuck into it?
The only thing I've got is that apparently, I don't know how much truth there is, but Austin wanted to change the finish midway through this match because he realised how over he actually was during this match due to the immense crowd that they had. And he almost pulled an audible to try and change it into him not making the heel turn, which in the long run, I don't know, that might have been better.
Yeah, it's certainly true. He did a watch along on his podcast with this match, and he said that was going through his mind at the time, and especially at the end was that what he thought about stunning Vince rather than hug him. So that was another thing that went through his mind. And hindsight being 2020, obviously that was the right way to go. Well, we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. Let's talk about the match. Earlier in the match, The Rock is on the outside and he's fighting Stone Cold and he dropped something. Did you notice that? He dropped his blade. So awkwardly go and pick it up before he got smashed with the bell by Austin, which led to the blading there. So
there was one bit where it was the most obvious blade I've ever seen from Austin. I can't remember what opened him up. I think The Rock was in the corner and Austin then attacked him. I think he might hit him with a chair or something. You can literally see Austin reach into his tights, pull the blade out, and give himself a little cut where he's just really huddled over like that. So then that's when I was like, he's blading there. That was the most obvious one I've ever seen, I think. from that. But nice little flashback in this match to Mania 13, I think, as well.
Yes, speaking of which, yes, the blading leads to the sharpshooter spot. The Rock puts Stone Cold in the worst sharpshooter I've ever seen in my entire life.
The blunt shooter.
But the visual was there to create that WrestleMania 13 flashback. And then later in the match, they also did the Survivor Series 96 match with Stone Cold, where he has him in the Cobra clutch. And once again, The Rock does rubbish executing that one.
Yeah, definitely. I think The Rock's selling in this match is really, really good, is what I'll say. There was one bit where Austin hit him with a TV monitor, and it generally looked like he hit him full on with the corner of the TV monitor. After The Rock put his hand up, but it looked really proper realistic for back then anyway. Adam?
Yeah, I'm pretty much agreeing with everything that you say, and that's why I'm not really commenting that much on this one. You've got your two flashbacks. You've got your over dramatic Rock in parts, like he was good at and he was known for. Just for me, I didn't like the heel turn, and I know you're saying that it worked and it was symbolism and blah blah blah. But Austin should never have had a heel turn because his character just didn't relate to a heel turn, because he almost was a heel, if you know what I mean, in the way that he was all about himself and he was all about don't trust anyone and blah blah blah. So I didn't enjoy that at the time, and I didn't enjoy it on the rewatch.
Yeah, I've got to agree with that. If there was going to be a heel turn, it certainly shouldn't have been in this match at this WrestleMania in Texas, where Austin was over so much to the point where The Rock was being booed, and they got a massive pop when he actually won the match. So that was after cheating and all sorts. The only thing I can say is that I did enjoy heel Austin following this. It probably wasn't the right decision, but I did enjoy the character he did after that. It led to some pretty funny stuff, which entertained.
Austin Angle was amazing.
Yeah, the 15-year-old in me absolutely loved that era of the Austin. It was really good. I enjoyed it. But I can say from hindsight, it wasn't a very good business move.
Yeah, I mean, I think all in all, the only way that you could have done it any other way would have been to have Vince help Austin, then have Austin stun Vince after the match. I think that would have been a bigger thing. But obviously, they had plans, didn't they, going forward? But I didn't mind it. So I quite like the Jimmy Crack Corn skit that they had, and you got I want the real Stone Cold back down the line, which was sort of a big moment as well back then. But yeah, I think either way, I can see both sides of it. I'm glad that it happened for future reference, but I'm also at the time was a bit. I think it was just a bit of a weird heel turn. No one really knew what was happening, and then it was just sort of a slow build up to it. I think it would have been better if there was just one impactful. Vince comes down to ringside, throws a chair in, use the chair, stunner, done. Not the sort of false finishes, false finish, hit with a chair a few times, game over.
Yeah, I agree and get what you mean there. It didn't actually make sense for why Vince was out there storyline wise, because he didn't really have anything to do with either guy prior to this, as far as I'm aware. It was just a strange heel turn that wasn't even that obvious. It almost appeared as if Vince was turning face, or I don't know. It didn't seem right.
A lot of people see this as the end of the Attitude Era as well. So this is seen as like the Vince aligning with Stone Cold being the complete end of the Attitude Era. WCW is dead. This is it. This is where it finishes, basically. What's your guys' views on that?
It was a little bit further down the line, wasn't it? It was kind of when WCW ended, that is kind of the significant point of it.
Yeah, I could probably agree that once the invasion started, you could say that Attitude Era is over. But I do get you what you mean. I think this is what you'd call the peak of WWE. And, this is the highest point they're ever going to get to. And it was downhill from there, really. Obviously, it has its peaks and floors after that, but it never got to that high point again, in my opinion.
So I agree in the sense of like popularity and what people look for and how many people were watching it. And it was probably the last point where WWF was cool, where you go to school and the popular kids will be talking about wrestling. So I think after that, it got a bit, it was sort of almost not sad, but you know what I mean, like not a cool thing to discuss anymore, especially going to the Ruthless Aggression era. So I think that's where it was sort of lost after this point. So I think, when I moved schools down to Cornwall at this point, no one was really talking about wrestling that much.
Yeah, I think some of my closest friends stopped watching around this time as well, which I guess probably was, leading from this pay-per-view.
So to sum it up then, lots of people, like Jamie was saying at the beginning, lots of people regard this as the pinnacle, the best event that WWE have done. For me, I don't, because it might just be the era that I'm at the moment. Obviously, being at university, not paying that much attention to it. I wasn't a big Triple H, Taker, or Austin fan at that point. I really enjoyed Rock, but the other three I could take or leave. So for me, it definitely doesn't fall in that category. How about you two?
Yeah, I'm the same thing as you. I was into it, but I didn't have the access, so I didn't see a lot of it. And I preferred me early 90s, early 80s stuff as well. So that's for me. It's not my number one.
No, it's not my number one Mania either. I said to Adam, embarrassingly, my favourite Mania is Mania 2000, which is arguably worse than this one. But yeah, I really enjoyed Mania 2000. My favourite event of all time is SummerSlam 02, which, like this one, it's just got a good mix of everything. But I think it's just got that little edge of the technical side of things to it. But I think that's all this show was missing, was just a couple of bigger early card matches. Then you had the Regal and the Jericho, and I think it was just sort of slummed off a bit after that, and then it picked back up towards the end.
Suppose.
Arguably the worst haircut ever for a backstage interviewer with Michael Cole as well. A little point.
Yes, we associate a lot of worst errors with Michael Cole.
Yeah. Was it For the Love of Mankind? I think that's probably the worst thing I've ever heard. Which Mania was that? Shane McMahon versus Taker. When he jumped off the cell. Michael Cole was For the Love of Mankind. And reading it from a piece of paper, quite openly on the camera. Terrible. But yeah, all in all, a good show. A lot of filler in there, a lot of killer in there as well. Austin the Rock's going down in history. Triple H Taker has been wiped from history according to everything that you watch nowadays. And TLC2, a good show all round.
Unlike WrestleMania 7, though, the filler was all for a purpose in this Mania.
Yeah.
And the classic match, of course, on the undercard, Kurt Angle wrestles a single match, as it's described. On the next
Yeah, it certainly is. There's no Mountie versus Tito Santana here either for the co-main event. But yeah, next time we're covering WrestleMania 27. So that should be exciting for all of us, shouldn't it?
Yes.
Maybe we'll be a dick doing this one, but we'll see.
Retro review time now. We're looking at the Mattel Legends Series 3. Lovely stuff. Johnny, let's fire across to you.
Yep. Series 2, we've seen some high scores come in, and we've got a new leader of the board with Iron Sheik at 8.88. And below him, we've got Kamala at 8.85. Now, both of these interestingly score above the Junkyard Dog, who won the retro ratings league. So we've already surpassed that, and we only got 4 over the mark of 8 on the retros, and now we've got 7 already just from 2 series in the elite line. So it shows the difference in quality of the figures between the elites and the retros.
Definitely.
Or the generosity of the Wrestling Figure Collectors Facebook group.
Yeah, I think it goes down to our generosity mostly rather than theirs. Although, because they scored Jake Roberts very high, where we sort of were in the maybe the sevens and that sort of thing. So that did push his score up quite a bit. And nobody like Jimmy Snooker. He's bottom of the pack.
Just like the gimmick battle royal, Iron Sheik comes out on top.
Yes, right. Let's move on to the first figure of this series. It's series 3, and we've got Brian Pillman. I've got him here. He's wearing his black tights with a red middle bit and a vest. It didn't come with a crutch, but I've got him displayed with one just for the hell of it. Adam, what are your thoughts?
So straight away, my eyes are drawn to his waistcoat. I really don't like the material at all. It's kind of the same one as they had Dolph Ziggler in one of the early Mattel Elite series as well. It's just not a nice material, and it creases really easily, and it rips quite easily as well. Facial wise, I actually really like the expression on the face. He's got a really psychotic, loose cannon type expression on his face, which I really enjoy. I was having a look at the kind of stature of him, and I think it matches how muscly he was and how thin he was. So yeah, no complaints there. His hair's a bit weird coloured. I don't know if mine's just a bit dirty or not, but I just find it a little bit mottled in a way, almost like it's going into dreadlocks. But yeah, no real other complaints for that one. I don't know much about Pillman. I wasn't a big Pillman fan, so I don't know if there's something wrong with his attire or something like that. But it looks good to me.
Yeah, attire seems about right. I'll agree with you on the vest. It's exactly what I wrote. I said the quality is pretty poor on that. It's very flimsy and damaged quite easy. I don't agree with the hair. I think the hair is pretty accurate. He had curly hair and it was kind of like wet in places and dry in places. It was a bit all over the place. Face scan is excellent. Probably one of the better of the series, to be honest. And the body type's fine. Perfect for him. But as I said, the accessories are poor. If it only comes with this, it needed to come with something else like a crutch or something like that I've displayed him with.
Which era Pillman is it? Is this mid-90s Pillman?
I would imagine it's when he gets to the WWF.
Right.
97.
So sort of Heart Foundation Pillman.
Yeah, his little feud with Austin, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, it could have come with a gun in that case then. Yeah, I mean, I would quite like to. Did he wear a Heart Foundation jacket? Really from any images on there?
Remember. That's what I was just thinking. I wonder if it could have been.
Must have had one at one point, even if he didn't wear it all the time. Oh, it's actually, I'm doubting myself saying that.
The notes that I had were could have come with a Heart Foundation jacket, but if he doesn't wear that much, I won't take any points off just in case.
It is. Speaking of points, why not hit me with some?
Yeah, so I agree. You can carry on, Adam. Yeah, you carry on.
Yeah, it's just the waistcoat really brings this down for me. It's a major killer, and with it being the only accessory, it's not as good as a lot of the other figures. So 7.5 for me.
Oh. I had too clean cut for this era of Pillman. Waistcoat needed better jacket was what I put down. 7.3.
I think it's the first time ever that I'm going to score higher than both of you. I've got 7.8. I completely agree that the jacket ruins it. Otherwise, I probably would have went somewhere around the 9. So 7.8 for me. Next, the British Bulldog. And again, represents the 96-97 look and does have the Heart Foundation jacket.
Not on mine, unfortunately. I've got a beat up, dirty version.
Yes,
just how I like it. So yeah, this is why I thought that Pillman should come with a jacket, because I think it would look quite good to have both of them in the full Heart Foundation gear. The Bulldog, I really like it. I think I'm a big fan of Bulldog in this era. It wasn't as good as his work in the early 90s, but knowing what we're going to get down the line anyway, I quite like this Bulldog look. It needed to be done. The tassels are good. The facial expression, I think, could have been a bit better. He's gritting his teeth a bit. I I was in two minds about it really, but all in all, a good figure.
Yeah, it represents the kind of the bad guy Bulldog, whether he's in a tag team with Owen or whether it's just a little bit later than that. You're right about the face. There is something off about it. Even though they've tried to represent bad guy Bulldog with the face, they haven't quite nailed it. Attire-wise, I really enjoy the attire, just showing off the British style things, and obviously the Heart Foundation jacket rounds it off.
Yeah, you've kind of I thought the face was pretty good, but yeah, I kind of do agree with you now that you've said that. The attire is excellent. It has some good deco on it with the Union Jack flags. The jacket is very good as well. The quality is great, and the logo is pretty nice in the back. Yeah, I'm happy with that. It's quite a high score for me at 8.7.
Wow.
I've gone for a straight 8.
I've actually gone lower on this one, just because for me the face is the most important thing, and it's not quite right. So 7.4.
Lovely. Now we've got Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Oh, and he's got the well.
It's got half of the accessories. I think. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Johnny. I'm talking over you again. Carry on.
I've got a bit of a confession to make, because if maybe about a year ago, 6 months down earlier, I went to Adam and asked if he had a spare arm for this Hacksaw Jim Duggan, because mine had got a blue stain on. And for some reason, I thought I'd swapped it over, but I never actually have, and it's still got that stain there.
I wouldn't have noticed.
And I also have no idea where the arm is, so I've kind of messed up a bit there, and I don't know why I didn't change it. But anyway, back to the figure itself. What do you think, guys?
So I'm going to start off this, and I'm going to start off with a question for you, because you might have had this MOC originally and new. I've only ever had this secondhand. So this flag that I've got, I've only ever had secondhand, and it's a horrible paper mess of a flag that gets destroyed so easily and creased so easily. Is this the official one? Is it a paper horrible flag?
It is a paper horrible flag. This is in my notes about any sort of figure that comes with a flag. It ruins very quickly. This is probably almost definitely not the flag that I originally got with this. And to be honest, although I do know this is the original one, I did get a second hand, and you always see there's a tear in mine there. They don't last. Recently, if you can find a Bret Hart, the Canada flag, in a good nick, that's even more rare, because I've got 2 defining moments Bret Hart, and both the flags are pretty well beat up. So yes, the flags are not very good quality.
No, they could have used the same kind of material as the really thin t-shirts for it, where it would simply roll, and I don't understand why they've made the choice not to. Going back to the figure, I think it represents a young Hacksaw well. I think the face is really good for a young Hacksaw Jim Duggan. He's doing his kind of, you can almost imagine him going, ho, with the battle cry that's on his face. The 2x4 is what it is. It's never going to go wrong, really. Mine fits in his hand well. I don't know about yours. And it's a simple figure done well.
Yeah, I can't add anything to that. It's basically what I've said. Yep. Jamie, anything like that?
Well, I didn't realise that the flag was paper for a start. It's annoying. This is not my score down a little bit. I'm surprised it made it through. I'm surprised it wasn't flagged. 7.5.
I gave this one an 8, straight 8.
And I've given it a straight 7. So we stuck with the multiples of 0.5.
Well, I had it as an 8 originally, and I took 0.5 off for the flag.
Fair enough. That's exactly what you should have done. I've also got a bit of a gripe with the early elites, is that the joints on the ankles are very flimsy, so it's quite hard for them to stand up.
A lot of the newer ones like that as well.
I think it's more prevalent on the older figures, like the defining moments Triple H. Such an expensive figure, but you can't get it to stand up. I think they're just black boots, so I've swapped them at some point. I've done that for a few others, like Hillbilly Jim and you know, some of those early Legends Elites where I've had to swap the boots over.
That's one of my only ones that's really sturdy, is the Hillbilly.
It must be just if they got like played with a little bit, then that's it. Once they've been bent, then they stay bent. Jimmy. Next figure, Mr. Perfect. There he is. Blue attire with the yellow on the back. Go on, Jamie. You're trying to get in there.
Chomping at the bit. I really like it. I think face scan wise, I think they could have been a little bit more. I think that all the facial features are crammed into one area, which isn't like what Mr. Perfect. You have more of a wider facial features on there. Attire wise, really good. The iconic blue with the yellow on the back from the Hasbro. I had the same one, which was a question I got wrong on the Legion of Hasbro quiz last week. Yeah, so all in all, I'd say good. Accessories wise makes sense. IC title, towel, lovely. But the IC towel looks a bit big on your one there, Johnny.
The towel.
The IC belt looks a bit.
Yeah, it is. That's a bit of a problem I've noticed when I've held it against the camera. But they're never going to change this design ever again because they're still releasing it, as we can see with the Ricky Steamboat. It's still the same size belt. And yes, it is too big. Speaking of too big, this figure's way too tall. It is huge. It towers. There's Bulldoggers for comparison. It's quite hard to see. I'll try and get them straightened up. Yep,
yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say. In this era, Mattel really focus on this Legends line about getting the minor specific details correct, such as height. And for some reason on this Mr. Perfect one, they've made him a giant, and it makes no sense whatsoever. This figure will be amazing. It's my favorite Mr. Perfect attire, but it's a giant Mr. Perfect. The orange one that they released later does the right height, and there was just no reason for this one to be so wrong.
Did they correct the height? Are you sure about it?
Yep.
Oh, I need to check this out now. I'm not sure if I believe
Yeah, it didn't stand out to me, the orange one, that it was taller.
Grab it for a quick second and check them. For a bit of a treat, I put them in an NWO attire. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, you're right. Completely fixed.
I've done that at home, so I was 100% confident I was right, but it was still a thingy moment there.
Yeah, I thought they didn't correct it, which is why some people were still like complaining about this release of Perfect. But obviously, it's absolutely perfect. That one. Maybe we'll get round to it one day.
I disagree with Jamie's comments about how he had a wide face. Perfect was almost a tiny bit cross-eyed, the same as Curtis Axel, if you notice. And he almost made his facial features seem a bit more pushed together. So I think the face, although it's not a perfect representation of him, I think the facial features being close together is right.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Score us up, Adam.
I have gone for, because it is way too tall, it knocks quite a lot off. I like the belt. It does look a bit too big, but I think it's a great accessory. I think it's one of the better Mattel belts for the look of it. The fact that it comes with a towel as well is good, but 7.5 because of the height and the not quite perfect face.
Yeah, I'm going to say 7.7 for me. It would have been in the 9s if the height was fixed and the belt was maybe a little smaller.
I've got it in the middle. I've gone for a perfect 7.6.
Of course you have, Jamie.
No, well, I had it as a bit lower before, but I added some on based on if the face is accurate and my estimate of the face is wrong, then I added 0.3 on for it, so it's 7.6.
You copied one of us, and you copied both of us. This point is when the midpoint.
I added 0.3 on. What do we do?
Right.
I'll go first on the next one.
We have a figure I was about to get rid of, but took them off sale knowing we were going to get to them eventually. It's the Series 3 of The Rock, simply with some sunglasses and a Leith the SmackDown t-shirt.
They've re-released this figure as well, haven't they, in the elite form?
Yes, which is why I was going to get rid of it, because the other one is a lot better. I used to think it was a pretty good face scan and stuff until I've seen what they can do now, and it's just completely surpassed this big figure.
I think mint on card, this one looks good. I think once you get it out and really look at it, it sort of changes around, doesn't it? Sort of changes your perspective on it. But all in all, I think it's a good figure for the time. So I think it's 2012, 2013. Good little figure to have in your collection at the time before they released the other one. So I base my viewings on that.
Trying to find the other one to try and compare it.
Yeah, my feelings were exactly the same. This figure was brilliant when it was released. It's still really good now. I've never actually owned this figure complete, but the newer rocks are better.
Yeah, let's have a look at the other one, just for comparison. Another thing that you can see is that the t-shirt is much better quality as well, whereas the original ones came with actual cloth, and it just gets up crimpled and fold you up quite well a lot. And this face is a lot better, as you might be able to see. It's a bit blurry.
So what is that? Is that 2001, 2002 rock?
I would say it was 2000. It's in my 2000 display.
Right.
SmackDown microphone on this one as well.
So I mean, for me, in that sense, and his hair doesn't really make a lot of sense based off that. I think you're more of a...
Yeah, you're right, actually. Maybe you could say this is more 1999. But I don't know when they coined the t-shirt later SmackDown. So
I mean, yeah, that could be any time between 99 and early 2000s.
So it's got to be 99 or later, because SmackDown didn't start until then.
Hmm.
I suppose it's not a general re-release because there's no sideburns on this one.
Oh, that's a bonus. But obviously, Rock had SmackDown before SmackDown. That makes sense. So it could have been, just prior to that. They even created a show and a game based off that little catchphrase. But all in all, I think haircut wise doesn't make a whole heap of sense for that generation of the Rock. If it is in that sort of ballpark of the 99 era, I think his hair is a little bit longer than that. But I'm not going to sit here and clutch at straws to try and knock the figure down. All in all, as I said, I quite liked it back in the day. If we were ignoring the re-release, it's a decent enough figure. I've given it a 7.7.
Oh, maybe we should start rating these before us, because you don't give out silly scores like that. Adam?
I might make you think I'm silly as well then. I really like this figure. I really like the presentation of it, MLC. I think it's really harsh to take a lot off it because of the way that scans have improved. So I won't really be deducting much for that. It was an 8 from me.
Oh, geez.
You're the silly one.
Yeah, please. I am the silly one out of us two, because it's just so basic and it's so bland. There's only a t-shirt and glasses accessory wise. Maybe if it come with the belt, then you've got something. The packaging, you're right, is brilliant, and it probably does look great in its box, but it's just not there. It's not a good scan. I don't even, that you wouldn't say, as I said, we went to the Bulldog. Even if this was improved on, you would still hold that against the figure, wouldn't you? So yeah, for me, this is going to be dragging the overall score down to 5.7.
Wow.
You've laid the smackdown on him, haven't you?
How late. Right, final one of the series. It is Vader.
Liv Morgan. Oh no, sorry, it's Vader. With that lovely cape on. So you guys will be a bit of history as to what attire this is based off.
1993 WCW.
Pause to it, Adam. You seem to know a lot more than I do, because I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's from the time there was trading cards and stuff like that from WCW around this era, which is the only reason I know, really. And he was wearing the exact suit. I think it might have been a Super Brawl that he came out with the cape on. I think he used it sparingly after that, because it started to focus on the helmet after that.
Yeah.
Oh, was it against Sting?
I don't know.
I really don't recall the cape ever being used, but yeah, pretty nice made actually. It's fur here and a bit clothy there. Quite like it.
The kind of material that they could have made flags out of.
Maybe. I think even the rubber on the flag would have made it a lot better.
All in all, though, I think a Vader figure, they always look good. I don't think I've seen a bad Vader figure, apart from the BCA. I think they're terrible. But yeah, I think the Vader figure wise, they always look good, didn't they? They always look toyetic, which is handy. If this is accurate to his attire, then yeah, it's good figure.
Yeah, it comes with 2 masks as well, which is a bonus.
It does. My other red one somewhere.
Love it. Am I kicking the scores off, or are we?
Yeah, go on.
You trust me again. 8.5 I went for this Vader. So I couldn't really pinpoint what it was for, but I think it's just the cape for me didn't make a whole hit. It doesn't scream Vader for me, the cape, but the masks wise I liked.
Okay, and I'll go next. It's 8.8 for me.
There's one thing wrong with this figure, and that is no chest hair, because he had chest hair at the time of this. That is all that is wrong with this figure. 9.5.
Oh, is that the highest score we've ever seen in this?
I would imagine. Definitely the highest I've ever given.
Yeah, I think I've gave Sami Zayn a 9.4, I think, in that ballpark. So I think it's... Gingers make good figures, apparently.
No, I think
they got the colour of Ginger perfect on this figure.
Yeah, they got his hair colour really good. What it is with figures that are bigger, they always seem to sell better and they seem to be in more demand and they pretty much generally look better. The Mabel figures, the Yokozunas, Vader, Earthquake, all really well done. So
yeah,
very do that well.
Akeem as well. So I think they dropped the ball a bit with Boss Man. I think mine's a bit flimsy. But, yeah, so that's that series in a whole, series 3 in the bag. Good series overall. I think definitely familiar characters, and apart from maybe Vader, familiar attires. Certainly for me, anyway.
Late night, Saturday night, ITV. That's why I'm familiar with Vader.
Before my time, but I did love WCW later on in the 90s.
Yeah, but it wasn't on Channel 5. I wasn't watching it, so that's just that one. But yeah, sweet. Legend Series 3 in the bag. Let us know your responses. We'll pop this on Twitter as well and our Facebook page. Make sure you come and find us at 3 Articulation, or just search 3 Points of Articulation on Twitter. You'll find us on there. Come put your little votes on and let us know your views on the figures and on the Wrestling Legend, the Wrestling Figure Collectors group as well on Facebook. Unpopular opinions time now, and we've had mine, we've had Jono's, and lo and behold, we're on to Adam. What have you got for us?
Very modern day unpopular opinion, WWE based. I've gone for the programming rather than figure related. My unpopular opinion is that Bad Bunny deserves his spot at WrestleMania. So I will reel off my reasons for that. He is the highest selling merchandise person on WWE.com so far this year, with over $500,000 worth of sales, beating any WWE superstar. So a lot of the time they base whether they're going to push people, whether they're going to give people TV time on the merchandise sales. There's a reason straight away. Another one is we are getting older now. We've got to face that fact. Our generation is probably going to stop being as interested soon. I've seen myself tail off a little bit. You've got to have something to draw the younger people and to draw a brand new audience into wrestling. And he is the most kind of subscribed, YouTube, Twitter, whatever, all that rubbish is. He is the most popular person at the moment in that genre, which will bring a whole host of new fans, hopefully, to the wrestling scene. Apparently, he seems very respectful in the back. He is wrestling training. He's putting more effort in than a lot of the actual wrestlers, according to Triple H and people like that. He's been training for a long time. He's a lifelong WWE fan. It's kind of the same as if I was ever going to have a match. I wouldn't care what people said and what people thought. If I earned my spot, if I was respectful, if I trained as hard as everybody else, I would earn my spot. What do you think?
Right, I'm just going to hit you with a small unpopular opinion myself. I really hate when people say people deserve or don't deserve something in wrestling. I think it makes this sound more like a phony, fake type of thing. I know it is, but sometimes you have to suspend your disbelief and all that sort of thing. But that's neither here nor there. Does he deserve it? I agree. Yes, he does. After all the reasons you rattled on about that, do I want to see him? Absolutely not. So I can agree and disagree with that one. And sorry, I can't really offer any sort of major arguments against what you said. But after seeing him at the Royal Rumble, I really don't want to see this guy ever again.
Yeah, so I agree with the sense of, if someone's a big merch seller, if someone's going to bring new eyes on the product, I think they deserve a place there, certainly. I think as he has done, he's sold many T-shirts and hoodies and so on to new fans, which is what they have to be about. They've got to develop into the new format, so it makes complete sense to have him in a WrestleMania match. I don't think he deserves to beat The Miz, someone as high up on the card as The Miz, in a singles match. Which
he has not done that yet. Let's just put that.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think he deserves to do that. Let's be honest, he probably is going to, but I don't think he deserves to do that. I appreciate we're not going to know. He's a massive Latin star. He's going to get massive eyes from that generation and from that area. So it makes complete sense to have him in the Mania match. But as you said, we are getting old. It's what can you do? Celebrity involvement in WrestleMania has always been a big thing, and it's good to see he's putting the effort in compared to some of the others that we've had in the past. But yeah, it's a very, very peculiar one, but it's a peculiar one that from Rumble, we can expect to happen.
Well, that didn't go as I planned. I thought you two were going to absolutely rip me to shreds there.
I'll rip you to shreds if you say you want to see this guy.
I personally don't know him because I'm not from the younger side of things. So I will reserve my judgment for Mania, kind of like I did with Rousey, and she pulled out the bag. I know she was sports anyway, but still.
Yeah, I mean, celebrity involvement in WrestleMania is nothing new. So it's nothing that's almost out of the norm or too controversial. But I don't know. You say about getting the younger demographic, is it not just the younger Hispanic demographic, or is this crossover a lot into the English-speaking world? Or
well, like I said, he is the most well-known, most followed type of celebrity on. It's one of the main platforms. I don't know exactly which one it is, but yeah. So it cannot just be the Spanish side of things for me. He's got to be well known elsewhere outside the UK.
It's probably the equivalent in 2002 of Enrique Iglesias entered the WWE. Probably that sort of level. But yeah, in ring. Yeah, so I mean, I'd say it makes sense of before. I didn't like the fact that he was involved in the Rumble. I didn't like that. Only because I think the Rumble is a completely separate entity. Because I like going back and watching those, and I think for that I didn't like it.
But if I'm going to counter that, I would say WWE have at least created a storyline which isn't just thrown together at the last second. So
it the Raw after the Rumble, though.
Is this confirmed as a singles match between Bunny and Miz?
Yeah.
Yes, but only because Morrison and Priest have got minor injuries that they're waiting to see how they go. And again, Priest being built up is another good thing for Bad Bunny being here.
Yeah, I would have liked it more if it was a tag match, and then you could have Damian Priest come out of that match as a major star, as he's pretty much going to carry this celebrity to a win. You'd think. I hope
it still could happen.
I hope the tag match does come rather than the singles match.
Yeah, I agree with that. Only because Morrison could then take the pin. Poor Miz. I think he deserves more than
Oh,
that.
Morrison.
Yeah, I think with the haircut he displayed last week, he deserves to be pinned.
Yeah, I agree with that opinion.
But yeah, all in all, Bad Bunny is big in the US as well. I think he's on a song with Cardi B, I remember rightly. I think I had some kids talking about that, some youths talking about it. But yeah, it's just, what can you do? It's going to happen. We can have two things. Either we can bitch and moan about it, or we can smile and say, let's just crack on with it. At least there's 37 other matches to look forward to.
So let's round that off. It is a popular opinion amongst us three, it seems. Jamie, hit us with prize information.
So, yeah, as we discussed at the start, we got the Ricky Steamboat. So, yeah, make sure that you guys subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure that you can subscribe to your podcast that you can on Apple. Leave us a review. Just all you got to do, just send us a screenshot, however you've done it. The more entries you get, the more screenshots you've got of reviewing or subscribing, the more entries you will get to the raffle giveaway. So feel free to DM us. Feel free to message on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, but not on LinkedIn. But yeah, just any way you can get it in front of us. Just as soon as we see that picture, you're in.
And are we letting them know in future episodes, like when we're going to do the draw?
Yeah. So at the moment, it will be a case of when we hit a certain amount of. Basically, we don't want to do it on 3, so we don't want to do it in a week's time or a few days' time, basically. So as soon as we have a date for the announcement, we'll let you guys know.
We'll set some targets next episode.
Yeah, definitely. But all in all, yeah, it's a very good figure. All you've got to do is just press the subscribe button or leave us a little cheeky review. If you enjoy listening to us, be as honest as you can. We enjoy the feedback, so let us know if there's segments that you really like, segments that you don't like, unpopular opinions that you don't like. If you like Bad Bunny, let us know. That's all we need, really. But yeah, apart from that, that's everything for us, guys, isn't it? We'll pop on the Facebook about the giveaway as well, so keep an eye on that and make sure you follow us, subscribe on YouTube if you're there. So if you are on Apple Podcasts, just subscribe as well. You can do on there, and Podbean as well, which a lot of people have been listening a lot more on Podbean and Spotify than Apple recently. So a good sign. We're quite big in India, which is good for everyone. So shout out to our Indian followers. And yeah, we'll be back next week. We'll be covering Wrestlemania 27, and we'll see you guys soon.
Cheerio.
Let us.